After my husband passed away, I missed him terribly. Director, about tomorrow's film audition, I took the German diary he used to write in front of me. Ching ching. I know how much you've been looking forward to this opportunity, but your injury, and asked my granddaughter, who had just returned from studying in Germany, what my husband had written. Ching ching. You're still young. There will be plenty of chances ahead, don't lose heart. To my surprise, my granddaughter chuckled and said. I could no longer hold back my tears, they came streaming down like a broken dam. How romantic of Grandpa to write you love letters. Every line began with my dear Hannah. I felt thunderstruck. All those years of mutual devotion turned out to be a lie. I never had a German name, yet his first love was Hannah. His diary was filled with longing for this woman. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn back to the early days of our marriage. This time, I refused to endure the silent treatment any longer and chose to set us both free. 1. The ceiling was a blinding, sterile white. I shifted slightly, and the man beside me seemed to stir, rolling over as if alerted. I watched him, Chen Siming, just in his early 20s, still carrying a touch of youthful innocence, so strikingly handsome. It's a shame that the most handsome men often have the coldest hearts. He noticed my gaze and frowned with impatience. That familiar look in his eyes sent an inexplicable pang of dread through my heart, as if I'd been thrust back into those countless days and nights of enduring his emotional abuse. On mornings like this, he would never speak to me properly, either giving me the silent treatment or lacing his words with sarcasm, each syllable cutting deep. My eyes fell on the calendar by the bed, June 12, 1988. In 1988, Chen Siming and I had just celebrated our 3rd wedding anniversary. Clutching the edge of the bed, I felt my stomach churn as I tried to steady myself, but my body felt utterly drained. Siming, I murmured weakly. He cast a casual glance in my direction, his eyes icy cold. Now that you're awake, hurry up and make breakfast. Stop dawdling around. Siming, I think my gastritis is acting up. Could you take me to the hospital? I bit my lip, the words coming out in what was almost a pleading tone. He paused for a moment, then quickly resumed adjusting his shirt in the mirror as if he hadn't heard me. Before we got married, I was deeply drawn to his refined, scholarly demeanor, but now, it all feels incredibly ironic to me. He finally spoke up. I have something to do. Go by yourself. I watched him lift his foot, and I knew, he was going to Chen Hannah's wedding, just like years ago, when he abandoned me at our own wedding to rush to her graduation ceremony. Siming, I called out to him. My voice soft but laced with a barely perceptible tremor. He glanced back at me, his gaze cold and tinged with impatience, as if saying, is there anything else you need? In his eyes, I'm just a dispensable wife, a tool to deal with the family's pressure to marry. In over 3 years of marriage, he has barely touched me, and the most intimate contact between us was just a perfunctory kiss he planted on my forehead the day we got our marriage certificate. Cold sweat dripped down my back. I'm in so much pain, can't you see that? He gave a scornful laugh and turned to walk away. I knew it, he didn't care about me at all. That's just how he's always been, dismissing my concerns and never giving a second thought to my feelings. I dragged myself out of bed, my stomach churning violently while dark spots swam before my eyes, but I still pushed through and made it to the hospital. The doctor said it was caused by prolonged mental stress, combined with irregular eating habits, which led to acute gastroenteritis requiring several days of hospitalization for observation. Lying in the hospital bed, I gazed at the sky outside the window, my mind flooded with countless thoughts. Is this really all there is to my life? Do I truly have to muddle through this pitiful existence like I did in my past life? No, absolutely not. Given a second chance at life, I'm going to live for myself this time. 2. When I got home, Chen Siming wasn't back yet. There was a note on the table, written in his flamboyant handwriting. My mom wants dumplings for dinner. Remember to come back early to cook. I let out a cold laugh, crumpled the note into a ball, and threw it in the trash. Then I opened the wardrobe and pulled out that red dress I'd been treasuring for so long. I secretly saved up to buy this dress while Chen Siming was away on a business trip. I always wanted to wear it for him, but never found the courage. Standing before the mirror, I swept my hair up into a high bun, revealing my slender neck. I picked up the phone and dialed a number. Hello, is this Sister Wang? It's Sui Ching. I've made up my mind. I want to come back to the troupe. After hanging up, I looked at my reflection in the mirror, a confident smile curling at the corner of my lips. As evening fell, Chen Siming returned. He looked at me with surprise, as if puzzled that I hadn't acted as usual, greeting him the moment he stepped in, asking about his day, and handing him slippers and a warm cup of tea. You're back. I sat upright in the living room, holding a cup of warm tea, my tone calm. Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. His eyes lit up with admiration at my outfit, but the spark faded almost instantly. What brings you here? Divorce. As the word left my lips, the boulder that had been crushing my chest for years finally rolled away, leaving me profoundly lighter. Do you even realize what you're saying? He finally looked me in the eye, a hint of mockery in his tone. I know. I met his gaze and said, word by word, I want a divorce. He ignored me and poured himself a glass of water. I'm hungry. Is there anything to eat? Once we're divorced, you're free to chase after your Hannah all you want. I won't stand in your way. What nonsense are you talking about? He frowned impatiently. Just get me something to eat. I'm hungry. Chen Siming. If you liked Chen Hannah so much, why didn't you just marry her despite the pressure back then? Why won't you agree to divorce me now? What nonsense are you talking? He avoided my gaze, his eyes darting nervously. Nonsense. I let out a cold laugh, tears welling up in my eyes. Chen Siming, search your conscience. All these years, have you ever treated me right? What did you even take me for? I stood up and poured out all the pent-up grievances and anger that had been festering in my heart for years. In 3 years of marriage, how many times have you touched me? How many times have you shown me any care? Who else is in your eyes and heart besides your first love? Chen Hannah, you actually wrote a diary about your love for her right in front of me. What do you take me for? You, how did you know? I let out a cold laugh. Why wouldn't I know? Chen Siming, did you really think I wouldn't notice anything? I looked at him, my eyes filled with disappointment and sorrow. Chen Siming, you're nothing but a coward. You don't have the guts to stand up to your parents' arrangements, to chase after what you call true love, yet you go and have an emotional affair while married, using it as an escape from reality. You're a coward through and through. Enough, Swachingching. Don't you dare go too far. You want a divorce, fine. If that's what you want, we'll go first thing tomorrow. His furious roar echoed through the empty room, but my heart had gone completely numb. I looked at him with calm eyes. Okay, I said, turning to walk into the bedroom and closing the door. 3. At the break of dawn, I opened my eyes to find the space beside me empty. Chen Siming, true to form, he'd slipped away without a word. I let out a self-deprecating chuckle, my heart tangled in emotions I couldn't quite name. I decided to visit the municipal song and dance troupe first. Before marriage, I was the troupe's star performer. Many called me a born dancer, yet for this marriage, I gave up my career. I gave up the stage I loved, devoting myself wholeheartedly to taking care of him in our home. When Sister Wang saw me, her eyes lit up, and she quickly pulled me over to sit on the sofa. Ching, you're finally here. I thought you were too proud to come back, Sister Wang said with a chuckle as she peeled an orange. I took the orange with a faint smile. Not at all, Sister Wang. I appreciate your thoughtfulness. Noticing my low spirits, Sister Wang said earnestly, Ching, I'm not sure what's troubling you, but life must go on. A woman should always have her own career, don't you think? I nodded in agreement. Sister Wang was right. I couldn't keep drifting through life aimlessly like I did in my past life. Don't worry. If you're willing to come back, your old position is still yours. The troupe is preparing to stage a new dance drama. If you're interested, you can take a look at the script first. As she spoke, Sister Wang pulled out a thick script from the drawer and handed it to me. I took the script and flipped through a few pages. It was a love story adapted from a folk tale, and I immediately became intrigued. So, what do you think? Do you like it? Sister Wang asked me. I nodded. I really like it. Thank you, Sister Wang. Glad to hear that. Why don't you read through the script first, and we can discuss any thoughts you have later. Sister Wang patted my hand and encouraged. Ching, I believe in you. You can do this. As I looked at the script in my hands, a long-lost passion welled up inside me. Yes, I still have dreams. My life holds endless possibilities. I can't let myself be defeated so easily. After spending the whole day at the song and dance troupe, I felt much better. When I got home in the evening, the house felt completely empty and devoid of any human presence. I quickly cooked a simple bowl of noodles and ate it while lost in my thoughts. Just then, there was a sudden, urgent knocking at the door. Who is it? I asked as I opened the door. Ching, get to the hospital quick. Your Simings had an accident, Sister Gu from our building said with barely concealed glee. Sister Gu, what happened? Don't scare me like that. Why would I make this up? I saw them carrying your Siming out of the guest house with my own eyes. His face was covered in blood. It was horrifying. You'd better go see for yourself. As soon as Sister Gu finished speaking, she scurried away, clearly afraid I'd press her with more questions. Without a second thought, I grabbed the nearest coat and rushed to the hospital. I finally found Chen Siming lying in a hospital bed. His face was covered in bruises, like he'd been beaten to a pulp. Chen Hannah sat weeping by the bedside, her eyes red and swollen, looking utterly pitiful. Siming, how are you? Does it hurt? I'm fine, it's just a minor injury. Chen Siming gave a weak smile and took Chen Hannah's hand. Hannah, don't worry about me. Standing at the doorway, I watched the scene before me, feeling nothing but bitter irony. Sis Ching, you're here, Chen Hannah called out timidly, as if she had just noticed me. Chen Siming also saw me, his eyes flickering briefly. But he remained silent. Chen Siming, what's going on with you? Before he could say a word, Chen Hannah began sobbing out an explanation. Ching, please don't blame Siming. This is all my fault. I was supposed to return to Germany today. Siming just came to see me off. But my husband misunderstood the situation. I let out a cold laugh. Since when does seeing someone off require a trip to the guest house? Hannah Chen's face went pale, and she bit her lip without saying another word. Siming Chen, let's get a divorce, I said in a tone so calm it betrayed no emotion. At those words, Hannah immediately looked up, a glimmer of hope flashing in her eyes. She knelt before me, pleading through tears. Sis Ching, I know you want a divorce, but please don't go through with it. Brother Siming just had a momentary lapse in judgment. He still cares for you deep down. Watching her put on this act made me sick to my stomach. After all these years, she's still playing the delicate, innocent victim. It's as if everything is always someone else's fault. She's forever playing the victim. Chen Siming struggled to his feet and comforted her with aching tenderness. Hannah, don't beg her. Get up now. The floor is cold. It was the first time I'd seen Chen Siming treat a woman with such heartfelt devotion. But this woman wasn't me. I let out a scornful laugh. What kind of show is this? Two married people clinging to each other like this? Chen Siming roared. Ching. Haven't you caused enough trouble? Do you have to be so aggressive? I stared at him coldly and said, word by word, tell me, which part of what I said wasn't true? Chen Siming, if you don't go through with the divorce tomorrow, I'll go to your newspaper and expose you. Let everyone see what you've done. Chen Hannah burst into even more violent sobs upon hearing this, desperately shaking Chen Siming's arm while mumbling incoherently. Chen Siming's face turned ashen. He valued his reputation above all else. If this scandal blew up, his career as a university professor would be over. All right, I promise you. I nodded in satisfaction and turned to leave the hospital room. When I got home, I started packing my things, planning to move into the troops' dormitory first thing tomorrow. This apartment was allocated to Chen Siming by his school as staff housing. I never intended to claim it since I didn't contribute financially anyway. There weren't many valuable possessions in the house. Despite all these years of marriage, Chen Siming only ever gave me a meager household allowance each month. I'm already scrimping and saving to send money to his mother. How could I possibly have any savings? Sitting on the edge of the bed, I looked around the empty room and felt a wave of desolation. After all these years of marriage, I've given my all to this family, and in the end, I have nothing to show for it. I thought if I was just good to him, he'd eventually come around, but I was wrong. Some people's hearts are like stones. No amount of warmth can ever heat them. I stuffed some simple clothes and daily necessities into my suitcase, and decided to leave everything else for Chen Siming and his true love. After packing, I sat in the empty room and suddenly felt a wave of relief. After all these years, I can finally break free from this terrible marriage. 5. Early the next morning, I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Chen Siming was already waiting there. He looked utterly exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes and stubble all over his face, as if he'd aged 10 years. When he saw me, his lips parted as if he wanted to say something. But in the end, no words came out. The divorce proceedings went smoothly, and we got our divorce certificates in less than half an hour. As we stepped out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Chen Siming called out to me, Ching, are you really going to do this? What about us? That's enough, Chen Siming. I cut him off. It's over between us. Let's act like strangers from now on. With those words, I walked away without looking back. The dorm room was sparsely furnished, just a bed, a desk, and a chair, but I was perfectly content with it. To get back to my best self as quickly as possible, I had to push myself harder than anyone else. I was even stretching my legs in my sleep. Mastering the fundamentals is absolutely essential. Although I never completely stopped practicing during these 3 years of marriage, I'd definitely gotten a bit rusty. As Sister Wan adjusted my headpiece, she asked, Ching, are you sure about this? You're really going through with the divorce? I smiled at my reflection in the mirror. This vessel of mine has good bones. Life's hardships have taken their toll, leaving her looking rather worn. But since the divorce, she's been glowing more than ever. Don't worry about me, Sister Wang. I know what I'm doing. Sister Wang sighed and said nothing more. I was fastening the buttons on my training uniform in front of the mirror, when I heard someone call from outside, "Ching Ching. There's someone here to see you, they're waiting downstairs." I hurried downstairs and saw Chen Siming. He was wearing a crumpled shirt and looked much more haggard. He was a far cry from the impeccably dressed university professor he used to be. "What are you doing here?" I asked coldly. He lowered his head and said in a low voice, "Give me the family savings. I need money." His words made me laugh in disbelief. "Chen Siming, how dare you ask me for money? What savings do we even have? All the money I've painstakingly saved over the years isn't even enough to buy your mom's supplements and gifts for your precious first love." Chen Siming's face darkened. "Swa Ching Ching, how can you say something like that? That money is what my mom deserves. Hannah, she's not well and needs care." His self-righteousness almost made me laugh. I pulled a ledger from my bag and tossed it in front of him. "Take a look for yourself. I've recorded every single household expense over the years." Chen Siming opened the ledger, and his expression grew increasingly grim. "See it clearly now, Professor Chen," I said with a cold laugh. "If there's nothing else, don't bother me again." He closed the ledger, a flicker of embarrassment crossing his face. "Ching Ching, after all we've been through as husband and wife, that's enough. Chen Siming, let's part on good terms. Don't come looking for me anymore." "Ching Ching, how do you wash white shirts to keep them from turning yellow? Also, what should I pay attention to when ironing clothes?" I froze for a moment, staring at him in disbelief. Never thought I'd see the day when Professor Chen, who's never done a day of housework in his life, would come down to earth. "Ask your mother. She's got plenty of experience in that department," I retorted coldly before turning to leave. 6. In the days that followed, Chen Siming became a changed man, making frequent trips to the song and dance troupe. One minute he's asking if the dish will be too salty from all the soy sauce I added. The next he's asking how to clean the water stains off the floor. He tentatively asked me, "Ching Ching, I noticed a button came off my shirt. Could you sew it back on for me?" I rolled my eyes and snapped, "Why don't you go ask your Hannah for help?" "Hannah, she wouldn't do things like this." "What? Just because I know how doesn't mean I have to help you." Chen Siming was left speechless by my retort. So I continued, "Listen, Chen Siming, I'm no saint. I don't have the patience to feel sorry for you. Either get your life together or leave me alone." Chen Siming kept whining incessantly, nitpicking about Hannah's every flaw, as if he'd suffered some grave injustice. I've heard this so many times it's going in one ear and out the other. Just tell the security guard not to let him in anymore. Peace at last, every day. I train until my legs go numb and my clothes are soaked with sweat. But seeing my increasingly toned reflection in the mirror fills me with strength. Like a butterfly reborn from its chrysalis, I thirstily drank in the sunshine and rain, yearning to burst forth with the most dazzling radiance on stage. The day of the performance finally arrived. Adorned with exquisite makeup and clad in a magnificent costume, I twirled and leaped under the spotlight. Every single movement was infused with the entirety of my emotion. It was a farewell to past sorrows and a hopeful gaze toward a brighter future. As the curtain fell, thunderous applause erupted from the audience, lingering in the air. 7. I spotted Chen Siming standing there in the crowd, his gaze complex as he watched me, a bouquet of flowers in his hand. After the performance, I removed my makeup, changed back into my own clothes, and walked out of the theater. Chen Siming came over and handed me the flowers. "Congratulations, Ching Ching, you danced beautifully." I took the flowers and said quietly, "Thank you. Can we start over?" He looked at me with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. I froze for a moment, staring at him, and suddenly he felt like a stranger. "Chen Siming, I no longer have any feelings for you," I said calmly. "It's over between us." His face went pale. After a moment of silence, as if finally steeling his resolve, he spoke, "Ching Ching, I regret it. Hannah just isn't cut out for a life together. She's too high maintenance and dependent on me. Every day feels exhausting and suffocating." I looked at him and suddenly found it rather amusing. There was a time when he treated me as if I were invisible, speaking to me with nothing but cold words. Yet now, he's trying to win my sympathy by belittling another woman right in front of me. "Chen Siming, that was your choice." I couldn't help but sneer. Who was it that ignored my mother's hospitalization just for her sake? Who forgot my birthday because they were too busy buying gifts for her? Now you realize she's not wife material and come begging for reconciliation. Dream on. Yet he persisted stubbornly. "Swa Ching Ching, I've already swallowed my pride. What more do you want from me?" But I truly understand my mistake now. Hannah and I haven't gotten our marriage certificate yet, can we start over? Chin Siming, do you know, every single day since our divorce, I've been filled with overwhelming regret. His eyes lit up, and he said with a trembling voice, Ching Ching, what I regret is ever agreeing to marry you. I regret not divorcing you sooner. The light in his eyes faded. Chin Siming, it's over between us, just give it up. With that, I turned and walked away without another glance. Ching Ching, Chin Siming's voice called from behind, tinged with panic and despair, don't go, I didn't look back, walking straight ahead, my steps were light, my heart completely at peace. I went with my colleagues from the troupe to celebrate the successful performance. Everyone was chatting and laughing, the atmosphere wonderfully harmonious. Ching Ching, you were absolutely brilliant today. Shally raised her glass and exclaimed excitedly, I feel like you've returned to your old self, radiating brilliance from head to toe. Absolutely, Ching Ching. You've become more and more beautiful since your divorce. Another colleague chimed in agreement. I smiled, raised my glass, and said, come on, let's toast to our spectacular performance. Cheers. 8. The next day, I received a notice from the song and dance troupe. They said a new film was in the works, and after the director saw my performance, he felt my demeanor and appearance were a perfect fit for the female lead, and wanted to invite me for an audition. My hands trembled with excitement as I held the admission letter. I began poring over the script word by word, delving into the character's inner world. As if possessed, I plunged headlong into the script. What on earth are you doing? A shrill shriek yanked me out of the script's world. Before I could react, a rough hand seized my hair, yanking so hard my scalp burned. I gasped in pain and looked up to see my mother-in-law's spiteful face. Useless woman. Why are you here instead of home taking care of Siming? Chin Siming and I are divorced. What I do now is none of your business, I said coldly, prying her hand from my hair with force. She curled her lip disdainfully. Divorced? Only because you couldn't bear a son. That's why my son left you. Now that Hannah's pregnant, you'd better get home and take care of her. Once the baby's born, you'll be its second mother. I can't believe my ears. Chin Siming and Chin Hannah getting together is one thing, but now they actually want me to go back and be their workhorse. Get lost. I'd rather be unwanted by anyone than be trampled by your Chin family. You little brat, you think you've grown wings. Huh, how dare you talk to me like that? My mother-in-law was furious, raising her hand as if to strike me. Whoa, what's going on here? Let's just talk this through calmly. Exactly. No need to get physical, it's just not a good look. Seeing this, several colleagues rushed over, holding back my mother-in-law and trying to talk some sense into her. All at once, my mother-in-law was being held back by several people, unable to move, and she spat out through gritted teeth, just you wait, this isn't over. I watched her furious retreating figure and let out a cold laugh. 9. I'm not the same meek Switching Ching who just takes it anymore, but I still underestimated her. She spread rumors everywhere, saying I was a promiscuous slut. Saying that I divorced Chin Siming because I couldn't stand the loneliness and had someone else. At first, I didn't care. I figured if I had a clear conscience, I had nothing to fear, so I let her say whatever she wanted, but I never expected rumors to twist and distort as they spread, and their impact can be devastating. That evening, I was rehearsing alone in the practice room. The door to the practice room was gently pushed open from the outside, assuming it was a colleague. I called out without turning around, "It's so late, why haven't you gone back to rest?" A sudden chill swept over me from behind. Before I could react, a rough hand clamped over my mouth, while another arm locked tightly around my waist, trapping me completely. Frozen with terror, I struggled desperately, but my assailant's strength was overwhelming. A lecherous voice whispered in my ear, "Your mother-in-law says you can't go a day without a man. Let me take good care of you." I recognized it as Luer, a temporary worker in our troupe, who was known for idling about and harassing young women. I can't believe he actually dared to lay a hand on me. "You're lying, let go of me," I cried out in terror, struggling desperately. "Your mother-in-law said you'd love the attention from men, told me not to hold back and have some fun with you." As Luer spoke, his hands grew even bolder. In a desperate move, I bit Luer's arm with all my might. "Ah!" Luer cried out in pain. Releasing his grip, I seized the opportunity, pushed him away with all my strength, and stumbled towards the door. But before I could even take a few steps, Luer grabbed my hair and violently slammed me to the ground. "You bitch, how dare you bite me?" he roared, slapping me across the face. "I'll show you who's boss today." My ears were ringing, and my vision started to blur. Before I could even get up, another flurry of punches and kicks rained down on me. I curled up on the ground. desperately shielding my head. "Help, somebody, help me," I shrieked at the top of my lungs. The door to the training room suddenly burst open with a kick, and a blinding light flooded in. "Stop, what do you think you're doing?" An enraged voice boomed. "It's the theater security guard." During his nightly patrol, he heard my cries for help and rushed over immediately. At the sight of the guard, Lou Air panicked and scrambled out in a frantic rush. I struggled to get up but felt completely drained. Everything went black, and I passed out. 10. I struggled to open my eyes, my vision a blurry haze. After blinking a few times, the white ceiling and the anxious team leader beside me came into focus. "Oh, my dear Ching Ching, you're finally awake." She grabbed my hand. "How are you feeling? Is there anywhere that still hurts?" I struggled to sit up, but the movement pulled up my wounds, making me gasp in pain. "Ouch, just lie still. The doctor said you still need to rest." The commander gently pressed on my shoulder, saying with concern, "I've already called the police. I won't let that bastard get away with this." I instinctively touched my ears. They felt muffled, as if there was something blocking them, and they were buzzing. "Commander, why does your voice sound so faint to me?" He froze for a moment, his gaze shifting uneasily. "The doctor said the nerves in your left ear are damaged, but they'll heal with rest. Don't worry, just focus on recovering. Don't trouble yourself with anything else." Just then, the hospital room door swung open. "I heard you got picked on. Came to check on you." Chen Siming walked over to my bedside, carrying a mesh bag of canned fruit. "Save your fake concern," I snapped, fury boiling inside me. If your mom hadn't been spreading rumors everywhere, would I have been bullied? Chen Siming frowned unhappily. "Swa Ching Ching, don't be unreasonable. What does this have to do with my mom?" "I'm being unreasonable. I was bullied. I'm lying in a hospital bed, and I haven't even demanded accountability yet. But you're already accusing me of being unreasonable." Chen Siming was speechless after my retort. He slowly began, "Ching Ching, let's just let bygones be bygones, if you're willing. We can get back together. I'll handle things with Hannah and the kids. Don't worry about what people might say. I'll make sure you're respected. No one will dare look down on you." I let out a cold laugh. "Chen Siming, in your dreams, let me make this clear. I don't need it. It makes me sick." Seeing my resolute stance, Siming's expression turned icy as he sneered. "Swa Ching Ching, don't be so ungrateful. Just look at yourself, already tainted by another man." He left the sentence unfinished. But I knew exactly what he meant to say. He was basically implying that I was no longer pure because I had been with other men. I took a deep breath and said, each word deliberate, "Chen Siming, listen to me carefully. Even if I, Swa Ching Ching, never marry in this lifetime, I will never have anything to do with a scumbag like you again. Get out now." Seeing that I was completely unmoved, Chen Siming couldn't be bothered to keep up the act any longer. "Swa Ching Ching, you'll regret this. Get out." I grabbed a pillow and hurled it at him. He failed to dodge in time and took a direct hit. Fuming with rage, Chen Siming could only storm out in a huff, slamming the door behind him. 11. Before I could even do anything to Chen's mother, she was arrested by the police. Back in those days, hooliganism was no minor offense. It was punishable by death. After Lu Air was arrested, he was scared stiff and desperate to drag someone down with him. He implicated Chen Siming's mother, who was my ex-mother-in-law. It was the Chen family matriarch. She's the one who told me to ruin Swa Ching Ching. She gave me $500 and a movie ticket, promised another $500 after the job was done. In the end, Lu Air got the death penalty, and my ex-mother-in-law was sentenced to 10 years for solicitation. Chen Siming used to be a university professor, but this whole scandal really tarnished his reputation. The school caved to pressure and expelled him. How the tables have turned. Karma works fast. When I was discharged from the hospital, I had lost a lot of weight and my hearing was permanently impaired, with symptoms that would come and go. The regimental commander, worried I might be feeling down, kept reassuring me, "Ching Ching, don't lose heart. Foreign medicine is so advanced. We'll go abroad for treatment later." I forced a smile, but inside, I felt completely lost. I had no idea what tomorrow held for me, yet, fate seemed to have given me another chance. The film director said he'd auditioned a whole bunch of people, but still hadn't found the leading lady he envisioned, so he decided to give me another shot. I secretly vowed to myself that I absolutely had to seize this opportunity. I walked into the audition room. I closed my eyes and recalled the scenes from the script, quickly immersing myself in the character's world. My performance was natural and fluid, filled with genuine emotion, perfectly capturing the heroine's psychological transformation from youthful innocence to weathered experience. The director's eyes grew brighter and brighter, until finally he slammed the table and exclaimed, "Excellent, you're the one." I opened my eyes and saw the excitement on the director's face, and my heart swelled with matching exhilaration. I did it. I finally landed the lead role. Filming went incredibly smoothly, and I really started to get into character. The director even said I was born for this role. To avoid holding up production, I practically lived on set and was completely out of touch with the outside world. By the time I wrapped, I'd lost a noticeable amount of weight, but I felt absolutely fantastic. Ching ching. "This show of yours is bound to be a hit," the director said excitedly, patting me on the shoulder. "I guarantee you'll become a household name." I smiled without responding. Fame and fortune don't matter to me anymore. I just want to prove myself. 12. After the wrap party, the troop leader pulled me aside with a somewhat complicated expression. "Ching ching, there's something I've been meaning to tell you." "What is it?" The team leader sighed. "It's your ex-husband. He attacked Chen Hanna with a knife, and he's currently detained at the police station." Seeing how shocked I was, the team leader proceeded to explain the whole situation to me. It turned out that ever since he was expelled from the school, the family's savings had all been used to compensate the Liu family. "I'm completely broke now. I don't even have a place to live. I'm stuck renting a tiny, run-down apartment." Chen Hanna was spoiled rotten growing up. How could she possibly endure such hardship? She started arguing with Chen Siming all day, blaming him for deceiving her in the first place. She even said if she had known how useless he was, she never would have divorced her ex-husband. Chen Siming was subjected to a torrent of abuse from her, yet he didn't dare utter a single word in his own defense. In order to provide Chen Hanna with a better life, Chen Siming began seeking help from everyone he knew to find a job. However, due to his family's criminal record, no employer was willing to take him on. Left with no other choice, he ended up working at the docks, carrying heavy loads and doing all sorts of dirty, exhausting labor. Yet even then, the money he earned was nowhere near enough to sustain Chen Hanna's extravagant lifestyle. Chen Hanna decided to seek out her ex-husband. Only he could provide the life she truly wanted, so behind Chen Siming's back, she secretly went to the hospital and terminated the pregnancy. When Chen Siming found out, he completely fell apart. He demanded to know why Chen Hanna did it, but she coldly told him she couldn't stand living this hellish life anymore. In a fit of rage, he grabbed a fruit knife and stabbed Chen Hanna. Chen Siming is now detained at the police station and will likely be sentenced. Hanna Chen was lucky, she wasn't stabbed in the heart, but she's still seriously injured and laid up in the hospital. The leader shook his head, sighing. "Seriously, what kind of mess is this?" I listened to the leader, filled with a sense of regret and sorrow, but I didn't have time to dwell on their fate, because my own life had to go on. 13. I'm off to embrace my glory, my future. The team leader patted my shoulder. "Ching ching, don't overthink it. This has nothing to do with you. Come on, let's go. Don't dwell on it. We still have a flight to catch." I chuckled softly and turned, walking towards the boarding gate. The movie was a massive hit, and I became an overnight sensation. I started touring the country with the cast and crew for promotions. My days were a whirlwind, leaving me no time to think about anything else. I reveled in the joy of success, and gradually, the pain of the past faded away. International calls started pouring in, and film festival invitations snowballed. I turned down most commercial film offers, opting only for art house films with depth. I reveled in the accolades and applause, basking in the joy of success. I heard Chen Siming was sentenced to 5 years, and Chen Hanna lost her fertility in that accident. Her wealthy ex-husband certainly wouldn't want her back, so in the end, she had no choice but to leave and start over somewhere far away. Whether they're doing well or not, it's no longer my concern. Goodbye, Chen Siming, and goodbye to everything from the past. My life is about to turn a brand new page. Story 2. In my previous life, I shamelessly pursued the most attractive guy at school. On the day I died of cancer, he was marrying the love of his life in a grand wedding. Now, having been given a second chance, I found myself back on the day I first confessed to him. In front of everyone, I slammed my love letter down on the desk of the notorious school bully. Startled from his nap, he opened his eyes to see the letter adorned with hearts and gave a puzzled look. "It's for you. Use it as scrap paper," I said. The classroom fell dead silent. The bully, with his striking, aggressive features and a silver earring gleaming on his right earlobe, looked up slowly. There were audible gasps around, whether out of awe or fear, I wasn't sure. I remembered him well. Zhou Yusi. Rumor had it that if you picked any 3 buildings in the school, one of them was donated by his family. Hence, not only was he referred to as Brother CI, but he also had another nickname, Building Brother. A classmate jokingly remarked, "Wow, brother CI. Even the peach blossoms have come to you in class." Zhou Yusi laughed and told him to get lost, his tone lazy yet intimate. After that, he turned to me. "What are you trying to do?" "I just want to sit next to you. Is that a problem?" I replied naturally. More gasps followed, this time clearly shocked. Zhou Yusi, propping his head with his hand, gave me a half-smiling look. "No one sits next to me. What makes you think you can?" We locked eyes, neither willing to back down. I clenched my teeth. No choice left. There were only 2 seats left in the elite class. If I didn't sit next to him, I'd have to sit with Chi-Han, which was akin to courting death. So, I just threw down my bag and sat next to him, stubborn as can be. Zhou Yusi frowned impatiently, as if he was about to throw me out any second. "I already told you." Before he could finish, I pressed down on his leg under the desk. His expression froze suddenly. In a voice only the two of us could hear, I pleaded, "Please let me sit here. Otherwise I'll have to sit with Chi-Han. You don't know, he's a creep. When there's no one in the classroom, he likes to crawl around in the shadows, and he even steals girls' skirts." I had no choice but to. It didn't matter. Chi-Han couldn't hear us, and even if he did, he deserved it. I got more agitated as I spoke, squeezing harder with each word. With each squeeze, Zhou Yusi's expression grew darker. Eventually, his face was so grim he could wring water out of it, almost grinding his teeth. He spat out a word, "Fine." I was puzzled. Just a moment ago, he had an arrogant smile. Why had he suddenly become so agreeable? And what was that expression? Like he was a king forced to bow under someone else's roof. Wait, were his thighs a bit too slender and soft? "You freaking pinching." Zhou Yusi finally snapped. I quickly withdrew my hand. Oh no, those weren't his thighs. After class, Chi-Han cornered me in the hallway. "What's going on with you and Zhou Yusi?" I didn't want any trouble and brushed him off. "None of your business." Chi-Han probably didn't expect my rebuff and scowled. He blocked my path and stretched out his arm. "Xiao Linqi, Zhou Yusi is not someone you can mess with. How could you send him a love letter?" Considering what had happened in my past life, my anger flared up suddenly. "What does it matter to you whether I provoke him or not? He may not be great, but he's still better than those who lead others on without accepting or rejecting them." Yes, if it weren't for Chi-Han giving me hope just when I was about to give up in my previous life, making me mistakenly think that just a bit more effort would be enough to win him over, I wouldn't have liked him for so many years. Chi-Han's expression turned ugly in an instant. "Xiao Linqi, what do you mean by that?" I crossed my arms and sneered coldly. "It means I'm criticizing you. Can't you tell?" Chi-Han's face grew darker, and just as he was about to continue speaking, I no longer wanted to waste my time with him. I quickly spotted Zhou Yisai not far away and waved my arms, shouting, "Brother CI." Under everyone's gaze, Chi-Han had no choice but to let me go. His last words in my ear were, "Xiao Linqi, I'm very disappointed in you." While smiling at Zhou Yisai, I was succinct, "Get lost." When I reached Zhou Yisai, I smelled a faint scent of tobacco. "Did you just come back from smoking?" Zhou Yisai simply hummed in response, then stretched out his hand to press on my forehead, pushing me away. His voice was hoarse and rough. "Secondhand smoke is harmful. Don't smell it." I remembered that in his last life, he only attended our school for 3 months, and it seemed he transferred because of a health issue. Out of nowhere, I blurted out, "First-hand smoke is harmful too. Can you stop smoking?" I looked at him with hopeful eyes. Xueqiao couldn't help but joke from behind. "You haven't even caught up with Brother CI yet, and you're already playing the strict wife." Realizing how over the line my request was, I said, "I mean, maybe smoke less in the future." "MHM, 2 voices responded at once, and I was stunned. Huh. Zhou Yisai clenched his fist to his lips and coughed softly. "I'll stop smoking in the future." Now it was my turn to be dumbfounded. The legendary school tough guy, so compliant. Chi-Han's unrequited love was named Jiang Jiao in my last life. She and I entered the elite class together. I didn't know Chi-Han liked her, so I sat next to him without any second thoughts. Little did I know that seat was actually reserved for Jiang Jiao. No wonder Chi-Han ended up disliking me so much that after receiving my love letter, he maliciously said, "Oh, draft paper." Originally, Jiang Jiao was too shy to sit next to Zhou Yisai and asked to sit by the podium instead. This left a huge gap between the couple. Thinking back to how Chi-Han mocked me in my past life, he probably blamed me for that. Strangely, in this life, Jiang Jiao got to sit next to Chi-Han as she wished, but he wasn't as keen as before. Instead, he kept blocking me. Maybe it's true that absence makes the heart grow fonder. To avoid Chi-Han, I had to stick close to Zhou Yisai. I nearly followed him into the men's restroom. In fact, it was almost to that extent. Every time Zhou Yisai got up, I would quickly ask, going to the restroom, I'll come with you. This led to his cronies teasing every time I appeared at the men's restroom door. Hey, sister-in-law, coming to accompany brother CI to the restroom again, can't be apart for even a moment. Huh, such a devoted wife, what more could a husband want? Ouch, Zhou Yisai came out, smacked Zhang Wei on the head. A lollipop askew in his mouth, squinting his eyes. What are you talking about? Aced your Chinese exams. Ever since he promised to quit smoking, he really hasn't touched it again. Instead, he bought a bunch of lollipops from the convenience store, stuffing one in his mouth whenever he craved a smoke. I accidentally saw that they were all strawberry flavored. He walked up to me with his hands in his pockets. Let's go, little tagalong. I blushed. What kind of nickname is that? Don't call me randomly. Zhou Yisai leaned in and laughed. Don't you know what the rest of the school says about us? They say you're my child bride, so you've been following me around all day. What the heck? I was just trying to avoid Chi-Han, that's all. I was still silently defending myself in my mind when Zhou Yisai, without my noticing, took a lollipop out of his pocket, unwrapped it, and made an ah shape with his mouth. Ah, I was skeptical, but I opened my mouth anyway. The sweet taste quickly filled my entire mouth. It was strawberry flavored. Why suddenly, give me candy? Before I could finish my question, Zhou Yisai had already turned and leisurely walked towards the classroom, catching a glimpse of Chi-Han's fleeting figure. I hastily chased after him. Hey, wait for me. That day, Chi-Han blocked me at the staircase again. I pretended not to see him and tried to step up the stairs. Chi-Han blocked my path with a stack of notebooks. I said impatiently, move it. But Chi-Han frowned and said softly, these are the key points I've noted. The monthly test is in a few days, and you won't make it without these. I didn't reach out for them, just suddenly looked up with a mocking gaze. After each class division, there's a monthly test. It's used to check whether new students can keep up with the class's pace and to weed out those who were just lucky. In my previous life, I desperately begged Chi-Han to help me with the key points, but he refused. He said, you only got into the elite class by luck. You're bound to be sent back. Why cling on unwillingly? He always thought I was just someone who got lucky, never believing that back then, I really liked him enough to study hard. Later, I managed to stay in the elite class by ranking 5th from the bottom. Everyone was surprised, guessing that Chi-Han had tutored me. Back then, he didn't offer any explanation, and now, I avoid him like the plague. Yet he took the initiative to neatly bring his notes to me. I crossed my arms and laughed. Whether I can make it or not isn't for you to decide. On the surface, you pretend to care, but your words are full of disdain. Chi-Han, who gave you the right to look down on me? Chi-Han's expression stiffened, then he sighed. You shouldn't be arrogant with words. The priority is to improve your grades. I rolled my eyes. Can't you understand? I said I didn't need them. Chi-Han reached out, about to forcibly stuff the notebooks into my arms. To avoid him, I naturally leaned back, but I forgot that I was standing on the stairs. Feeling the loss of balance, I instinctively cried out, ah, 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 but the expected pain didn't come. I fell into a strawberry-scented embrace. Shoo, how long are you going to lie here? I was lost staring at Zhou Yisai's face until he spoke, and I realized I had knocked him down. That loud noise was the sound of him hitting the ground with his back. I'm so sorry. Zhou Yisai stood up, twisted his neck, and said to Chi-Han, aren't you leaving? Chi-Han's face turned utterly dark, and he left without a word. He ultimately didn't dare to confront Zhou Yisai directly. After he was gone, Zhou Yisai still stood there, silent, feeling a bit guilty. I quickly suggested, shall we go back to the classroom? Zhou Yisai remained silent, head down, not moving or speaking, thinking he was angry. I hurriedly continued, it's really him who blocked me. Since you told me to keep my distance, I've been avoiding him. I know. Zhou Yisai interrupted me, lifting his head with no sign of anger. He pointed at his leg. Can you help me to the medical room? I think I twisted it. Me? I struggled to support Zhou Yisai. Watching him hop down the steps, he asked, so, are you really avoiding him because you listened to me? Do I carry that much weight in your heart? Say one more word, and I'll push you down these steps. Zhou Yisai sprained his ankle because of me, so, naturally, the responsibility of taking care of him fell on my shoulders. I fetched water for him, I brought him meals, I helped him get excused from gym class, and under his forceful insistence, I also took leave, to keep him company and alleviate his boredom in the classroom. During the break, Zhang Wei looked at the pile of snacks and fruits on Zhou Yisai's desk and exclaimed enviously, that's nice, I wish I were lame too, chewing an apple. Zhou Yusi glanced at him smugly. Is your desk mate as good as mine? Zhang Wei's male desk mate, who was unexpectedly mentioned, slowly lifted his head, puzzled. But Yusi, what about when you go home? There's no one to take care of you at home, Zhang Wei continued, but swallowed the rest of his words under Zhou Yusi's menacing gaze. That moment reminded me of the rumors about him from a past life. It was said that although Zhou Yusi came from a wealthy background, his parents seldom showed him affection. They often had him transfer schools due to their work, leaving him with a large sum of money and nothing else. Despite the private comments among classmates like, if I had that much money, I wouldn't mind if my parents ignored me, I thought that for Zhou Yusi himself, it must still be somewhat hurtful. With that thought, I almost instinctively said, I'll go to your house and take care of you. Upon hearing this, both Zhou Yusi and Zhang Wei were stunned. Scratching his head, Zhang Wei spoke first. Sister-in-law is so kind, but Yusi never lets anyone visit his home. It's fine, Zhou Yusi interrupted him. I turned to look at him, seeing a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth as he leisurely said to me, Deal, no backing out. Zhou Yusi's home was on the top floor of a building in the city center. I had only heard that the rent there was extremely high, mostly occupied by startup companies. I hadn't expected there to be residences. Carrying groceries I had just bought, Zhou Yusi casually pointed to the kitchen. Put them there. My eyes darted around looking for an apron. When I turned back, I found Zhou Yusi already putting one on. A rascally handsome face paired with a pink lace apron looked quite cute. I was surprised. Aren't I supposed to cook? Zhou Yusi had already started washing the vegetables, balancing on his plastered leg by the sink, his brow slightly furrowed, looking as if he was dueling with something. Oh, with the cabbage. While idling, he unwrapped a lollipop and popped it into his mouth, then mumbled, Just kidding. How could I really let you cook? Today, you'll taste my cooking skills. Watching him skillfully ignite the stove, slice the meat, and chop the vegetables, my surprise grew. Probably seeing the astonishment on my face, Zhou Yusi chuckled. What, did you think I was a pampered young master who can't touch spring water? I nodded honestly, as he dumped the shredded meat into the hot oil, causing a sizzling sound. Zhou Yusi said, You know my family is rich, right? They also call me building brother. My parents are quite generous, but the moment I argue with them, they cut off all my allowances, even informing relatives and friends not to lend me any money. After one particularly fierce argument, they ignored me for half a year. I almost couldn't afford to order takeout. It was only thanks to a neighborly aunt who felt sorry for me and gave me some vegetables. Although I ended up burning them, I couldn't even eat them. After that incident, I learned how to cook for myself. He turned back and smiled at me. So, during that time, every time I saw the buildings they donated at school, I was so annoyed I felt like selling them just to buy some food. His expression was calm, showing no sign of pain or anger, but I always felt he was not really happy. Even the last joke seemed to be an effort to keep the mood from getting too gloomy. I opened my mouth but for a moment, didn't know how to comfort him. After all, doesn't every family have its own set of challenges? Actually, I was about to speak when my phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, I frowned instinctively. After hesitating for a while, I answered the call. It's so late, why aren't you home yet? Your brother wants to eat desserts from Panji. Remember to pick some up on your way. Are you mute? Speak up. I took a deep breath and hung up directly. Zhou Yusi looked at me with a puzzled expression. Who was that? My dad. Oh. There was a silent pause for a few seconds. Neither of us continued the topic. Decided to come back. Have you? As I opened the door, the living room was pitch dark. Just as I fumbled to turn on the light, I saw 3 figures sitting in the center of the sofa. The man's undisguised anger filled the cramped space, mixed with the cheap scent of cigarettes. I looked at them indifferently, not intending to engage. Yeah, I'm back. Saying that, I turned to head to my room. Stop right there. Unexpectedly, my cold response was met with even greater fury. A glass cup whizzed past my ear, blocking my path, and then crashed against the wall, shattering into pieces. Glass fragments scattered on the floor, reflecting my current expression, numb and tired. From behind, my mother's voice came. Xiaoqi, what's been going on with you these past few days? Coming home so late every day, no one's cooking at home. Are you hanging out with some shady friends? Your dad is just concerned about you. Come here. Apologize to him. I turned around, looking at my family of 3. If it had been my previous life, perhaps I would have been swayed by my mother's gentle persuasion and apologized without a thought. But having relived this life, I was acutely aware of the underlying message in her words. So it was actually about me not cooking for the family, wasn't it? How ridiculous. Just like when I received my own cancer diagnosis in my previous life, scared and confused, I called home, and their first reaction was, "Why don't you tell your brother the bank card PIN before you go?" Later, I donated all my property to charity, and they, crazed, came to the hospital, even trying to drag me from my bed to change the will. "You ungrateful wretch, you'd rather give to strangers than to us. Your brother is getting married, we urgently need the money, and you gave it away to others." It seemed nobody cared about my dwindling time. Perhaps from that moment, I knew they never really loved me. Lacking love in my original family, I sought to find compensatory love in Chihan. But having never seen what true love looks like, the love I gave was clumsy and awkward. In my last life, I fell into such a vicious cycle, leading to a lifetime of tragedy. This life, I clenched my fist. "Speak up, mute. What about the panji you were supposed to bring me? I bet you were messing around with some man, so you forgot." "Ah." I grabbed a cup nearby and threw it back at them. Tit for tat, it was only fair. "You better watch your mouth," seeing that I dared to lay a hand on their precious son. The other two were becoming restless. "Xiao Linchi, I think you've gone too far today. I need to teach you a lesson." The man rolled up his sleeves, stretched out his arms to grab me, although the cup didn't hit his face. Xiao Xiao, still startled, stood there cursing. "I heard she's been busy chasing after men at school. Some guy named Chi. How could she focus on her studies? Am I wrong? She's just chasing after some random men. And she even dared to hit me for one. Oh great. I actually raised a daughter without any shame. Look at me." The scene was chaotic. Before my dad could grab me, I sidestepped into my room and slammed the door shut. There was a loud bang as someone's head hit the wooden door. "Ouch." "Xiao Linchi, open the door. If you dare, stay inside forever." I locked the door from the inside, ignoring the pounding on the door. About 10 minutes later, the pounding intensified, and there were even sounds of a hammer hitting the doorknob. At this rate, the door would be broken down in 5 minutes. "It's your choice. Come out by yourself or we break the door. I'm counting to 3, 2. I walked over and opened the door myself. "Good, you know better." My dad probably thought I opened the door out of fear. After all, in this household, the thing I feared the most was the countdown, because the moment the syllable 1 was uttered, it meant I was about to be hit. So he was surprised when he saw my calm expression, dragging my suitcase. I walked past them expressionlessly. My mom quickly shouted, "Xiaoqi, where are you going?" Xiao Xiao sneered beside her. "Look at her, playing the runaway drama. Who do you think cares about you here?" Perhaps before, such blatantly malicious words would have hurt me. But not anymore. I turned around and said, "The suitcase and the clothes inside were all bought with the money I earned from my part-time jobs. Over the years, I've been working to pay for my tuition and living expenses, and I've given the rest to you. I don't feel I owe you anything, but if the court decides in the future that I need to provide for you, I will pay whatever is legally required. Until then, I hope we don't appear in each other's lives again." It's disgusting. With that, I dragged the small suitcase out the door. It's funny, I realized only when leaving that all the clothes I had were bought with my own money, and I didn't even have more than 5 sets of clothes. My words seemed to have stunned everyone. After walking a distance, disjointed voices of conversation followed. "Xiaoqi, what are you saying? Are you really leaving? Are you really so heartless to leave your mom and dad? Why stop her? I've always said, daughters are thankless." And all that nonsense about being the little padded jacket, I spit on that. Just let her go. "Mom, I bet she won't last long and will come back with her tail between her legs." I clenched the handle of my suitcase and smiled. "We'll see how long I last." The road in the neighborhood was very dark, the dim streetlights elongating my shadow. I stared at my shadow, suddenly feeling a bit lost. Admitting that your parents don't love you is really hard, even though you know it's not your fault. You can't help but ask, is it because I'm not good enough that they love my brother more? No. I suddenly looked up. A young man in a gray hoodie leaned against a peeling lamppost. The swirling smoke obscured his cheeks, but his eyes shone unusually bright. I stuttered, what are you doing here? When I left your house after dinner, weren't you already getting ready for bed?" Zhou Yusi came over and suddenly pulled me into his arms. His shoulders were broad, his embrace warm. Leaning against his chest, I listened to him speak seriously and earnestly. "It's not your fault, Xiao Linchi. You are fine. It's them who are wrong." It turned out he had heard the words I had unconsciously spoken earlier. I asked him, my voice filled with emotion, "Really?" Zhou Yusi rested his chin on my head and nodded seriously. "Really, brother, see, I never lies." I felt a twinge in my nose. I wanted to say, "Zhou Yusi, do you know this is the first time someone has chosen me so resolutely?" My loved ones in my past life had all firmly given up on me. I also wanted to say, "Show Yusi, those cheesy lines are really corny, but thank you, they mean a lot to me." But the words swirled in my mouth and finally turned into, "Show Yusi, didn't you promise me you would quit smoking?" That warm embrace suddenly stiffened. The boy who seemed capable of shouldering everything suddenly reverted to that green high school student. He whispered, "When I saw the look on your face as you answered the phone today, I guessed something was wrong. I followed you here secretly and heard the arguing from your house. I got agitated and," his voice was as faint as a mosquito's, "it won't happen again." I looked up at his eyes, flickering with guilt, and suddenly laughed. He really didn't need to promise me anything. A casual remark of mine couldn't really bind him. Yet Joe Yusi still treated that promise with such care. So this is what it feels like to be valued, even with nothing at all. Someone would still hand you leverage willingly. Joe Yusi, feeling my gaze, his face flushed with heat, changed the subject. "What are you planning to do now? Do you want to stay at my place for a while?" "Sure," I agreed readily. Actually, from the moment I stepped out the door, I had been thinking about what to do next. I am currently a high school student with no source of income and no time for part-time jobs. Living and meal expenses are manageable, as eating at the school cafeteria doesn't cost much, but accommodation, that's the major expense. In this city, a decent apartment's monthly rent could cost thousands, something I couldn't afford with my current status. Having Joe Yusi help with this urgent matter couldn't be better. However, I continued, "I won't take advantage of you for free. Once I have money, I'll pay you rent." "Okay," Joe Yusi, surprised by my quick agreement, soon frowned when he heard about paying rent. But it was only for a moment. The next second, he nodded in support of my decision. I smiled at him gratefully, thanking him for respecting my pride. "But where will you earn the money?" Joe Yusi asked. I gave him a mysterious smile and said, "I have my ways. Actually, it's no secret. No, 13 Middle School is the best school in the city, receiving many investments and donations every year. The school uses these funds to set up numerous awards to encourage students who excel academically. The amounts are substantial, and the prizes numerous. Among them, the midterm exam offers the largest amounts, 10,000 for first place, 5,000 for second, 2,500 for third, and so on. In addition to that, there's also a most improved award, which comes with a prize of 5,000 yuan. Unfortunately, such competitions are often monopolized by the elite class. And that 10,000 yuan always ends up in Chihan's pocket. This time, I think it might be my turn to take the top spot in our grade. This is the only quick way to make money that I can think of right now. I haven't told Joe Yusi about this. Firstly, I'm afraid of losing face if I don't succeed. Secondly, I worry that if Joe Yusi knew I wanted to beat Chihan, he might pester him every day and distract him from his studies. It's not that I feel sorry for Chihan. It's just that the kid likes to play dirty. Joe Yusi is too kind and naive to outplay him. With 2 months left until the midterm exams, I put in 10 times more effort than I did for my college entrance exams in my previous life. These kids, who have never stepped out of their ivory towers, won't understand the potential that can be unleashed by someone who's been battered by the real world and is back in school. Even Joe Yusi couldn't help but wonder, we live under the same roof. But why does it feel like we hardly see each other? I just smiled and took it as a compliment. In the last monthly test before the midterms, I controlled my scores. Being too conspicuous can attract unwanted attention, and I didn't want to get carried away with my progress in the coming time, so I kept my grades within the bottom few of the class, not too different from usual, but enough to ensure I wouldn't be kicked out of the elite class. However, during the exam, I knew all the answers and my heart couldn't help but race with excitement. A sense of anticipation welled up inside me. It was like a fully prepared general yearning for the battlefield. After the results were out, Chihan helped distribute the test papers. When he got to my desk, his expression was one of pity, but his eyes gleamed with satisfaction. He sighed and said, "I told you not to be so stubborn. You almost got kicked out of the elite class. I've kept the notes for you, just in case you need them." Chihan, I suddenly called out to him, perhaps not expecting me to call him in such a gentle tone. He was momentarily stunned and blushed as he responded, I didn't even look up, just said indifferently, "Maybe you should consider adopting a child from the orphanage." Chihan was baffled. "What? You seem to have a strong paternal instinct. It would suit you." Chihan's face darkened completely, and it took him several deep breaths to calm down before he said to me, "Xiao Linqi, don't push your luck. I really want to see how you handle the midterm exams." He wanted to say more, but then he caught a glimpse of Joe Yusi entering the classroom, and after giving me a few glances, He finally walked away clenching his molars. Zhou Yusi sat down, frowning as he watched Chi-han's retreating back and asked, "Is he bothering you again?" I shook my head, waving the test paper in my hand. Zhou Yusi chuckled, snatched the test paper from my hand, and said with a smile, "You did well." He never had to worry about which class he was in. After all, even if he scored the lowest in the entire school, the principal would keep him in the elite class for the sake of his family's donations. But, if I could improve his scores, maybe his parents wouldn't force him to transfer schools. So I asked him, "Where's your test paper?" Zhou Yusi was taken aback, then defiantly said, "I didn't take the test, I went out to play basketball." Since the seating in the test room is randomly assigned, I didn't know he had skipped the test. I was shocked. "Why?" Zhou Yusi casually replied, "It's boring, didn't feel like taking it." I fell silent. Well, it looks like improving his grades is going to be a long and challenging task. But the teacher intentionally placed the students from the elite class in the same examination hall to prevent copying and cheating by students from the regular classes. So, unfortunately, Chi-han, Jiang Jiayao, and I ended up in the same room. They were even seated to my left and right. Bad luck. However, once the bell rang, I no longer cared about those distractions. Unlike the last monthly test, this time I performed to my full potential. In my past life, I always felt that studying was difficult. And after getting into the elite class, I started to slack off. If it weren't for wanting to stay close to Chi-han, I probably would have been kicked out soon after I joined. But living this life again, I realized that studying isn't as hard as life's real struggles. Without proper study, I might repeat my past mistakes, get entangled with unworthy men, or become manipulated by my own family. With this belief, I have been extremely diligent over the past 2 months. Questions that used to stump me now seemed like child's play, so much so that half an hour before the exam ended, I had already finished my paper. I checked my answers again. Chi-han just put down his pen and gave me a skeptical look. As the bell rang and the teacher collected our papers, the crowd rushed towards the door. Chi-han squeezed next to me, frowning and said, "The questions were quite challenging this time. But even if you couldn't do them, you shouldn't just give up." I raised an eyebrow. "Difficult, you say?" I didn't feel that at all. Chi-han's frown deepened, his tone filled with the superiority of a top student. "You might not feel it, but the last few major questions were indeed tough. The gap in the school rankings is going to widen again." "Hey, you." I silently rolled my eyes and walked past him, brushing his shoulder as I left the classroom. Such confident statements make my brain shrink if I listen any longer. In the subsequent exams, I always finished a half hour before Chi-han. After the last exam, Chi-han sighed repeatedly at me. "Let me talk to Teacher Wang and plead for you to stay in the elite class. How about that?" I laughed. This person is really strange. In my past life, would he have thought to plead for me? No, because no matter which class I was in, I would shamelessly cling to him and adore him. But now that I've discarded him like an old shoe, he still sticks to me, enduring my mockery and dislike without letting go. But does he really want to help me? Not really. He's just not willing to let go. He's just trying to recapture the feeling of being adored and the sensation of superiority. I turned my head to Chi-han and gave him a perfunctory smile. "No need. I really can't accept that." Midterm exams always resulted in the posting of the red list. It displayed the rankings of the entire school, pinned up on the bulletin board in the corridor, because this exam was very important. The teachers corrected the papers within just 3 days. On the day the results were posted, I went to the school store to buy water but saw a group of people crowded around the red list, buzzing with discussion. "It can't be. Chi-god actually slipped up this time. What happened? When did the elite class change its guard? Stop talking. She's coming." I stood on the outskirts of the crowd, tiptoeing to peek over. The girl standing in front of me turned around, looked at me with a shocked expression. Someone shouted, and the crowd turned around, showing the same shocked faces. After a rustling of clothes, a path was cleared in front of me. Me, is it really that exaggerated? It seemed almost rude not to go in. Under everyone's gaze, I walked up to the red list and my eyes widened. In the largest title, in the boldest font, it clearly stated, "First place, Xiao Lingqi." Did I really score higher than Chi-han? Yet, that wasn't the most shocking part. Below my name, the one who followed wasn't Chi-han. Instead, it was Zhou Yusi. Second place, Zhou Yusi. Third place, Chi-han. The once unbeatable legend now only managed to secure third place. No wonder it had drawn such a large crowd, especially since the ones in front of him included a love-struck fool who had just moved to the elite class for love. and a school tyrant who had bought his way in. Make way, a familiar voice rang out, and I instinctively turned my head to see Chi-han's gloomy face. I turned back to look at the honor roll and suddenly found it amusing. He was right in a way, the gap had indeed widened, with Zhou Yusi pulling ahead by 10 points, and me by a full 20 points. Just then, a sharp pain at my wrist made me turn back. Chi-han had approached me at some point, fiercely grabbing my wrist, his teeth clenched as he said, "Is this amusing to you?" I was baffled. "If you're referring to me taking first place, then yes, it is quite amusing. Knocking you down a peg feels great." The crowd of onlookers grew, nearly blocking the entire corridor. At that moment, Chi-han growled in a voice neither too loud nor too soft, "Even if you cheat, you should have a limit. What's the use of stolen scores?" Everyone gasped. The news exploded through the crowd, and whispers reached my ears unabashedly. How could she possibly score first? Just as I thought, during the exam, Chi-han seemed to be sitting with her. He must have seen something. It's likely she cheated and Chi-han witnessed it, yet shamelessly scored first. No wonder Chi-han is so furious. Listening to the public condemnation, I scoffed. "Oh, they've even fabricated the entire process now. Do you have any proof?" Chi-han, grinding his molars, replied darkly. "Xiao Linqi, you might fool others, but not me. How could you improve so much in 2 months? Who leaked the questions to you? Was it Zhou Yusi? That must be why he came second." The crowd inhaled sharply in waves. The murmurs grew louder. "That explains how both of them could score first and second. Yeah, Zhou Yusi's family is so wealthy, it's not impossible for him to bribe the teachers. He got the answers and then passed them to Xiao Linqi. They are desk mates after all. How could both of them improve so much at the same time? There must be something fishy. Now I understand how rumors start." I suddenly broke free from Chi-han's grip, hugged my arms, and said with a laugh, "Can't you handle the setback? Are you losing your mind over this? Chi-han, you'd better get used to it because from now on, I'll beat you in every exam. You might as well start saying goodbye to being the top student." With that, I turned to leave, but Chi-han persisted, calling out from behind, "So, you still refuse to admit it?" His accusation made me laugh. "Don't just talk. Where's your proof?" The crowd fell silent for a few seconds, all eyes on Chi-han. His expression darkened, and then as if making a resolution, he shouted, "I saw it, Xiao Linqi. I personally saw you cheating." Oh, Chi-han can be so foolish. If only he had claimed I memorized the answers in my head. Cheating, copying from small slips of paper. Couldn't they just check the surveillance cameras, until our teacher, with a constipated expression, told us? The exam room's camera was broken. The way he avoided eye contact made it clear, he was going to protect Chi-han. After all, Chi-han had been the perennial top student, still the teacher's darling despite not being first this time. So, the teacher would rather lie than let people know Chi-han had desperately lied. But why should my reputation suffer for his wrongdoing? I was accused of cheating without any evidence. But the testimonies seemed to solidify the claim against me. Just then, a lazy voice drifted in from outside the office. "Even a simple camera breaks so easily. I'm starting to wonder if my dad's investment is just being embezzled by the school board. Makes me question if it's even worth building another building for this school." Surprised, I turned around and saw Zhou Yusi walking over, hands in pockets. From among the onlookers, sweat was clearly visible on the forehead of our homeroom teacher. Stuttering, he asked, "Why are you here?" Zhou Yusi pursed his lips and said, "Didn't someone claim that the second place I worked hard for was achieved through cheating? I came to see who dares to stir up trouble." The teacher wiped his forehead with his sleeve and said sheepishly, "We're not talking about you. We're discussing the matter concerning student Xiao Linqi." "Oh," Zhou Yusi smiled, "you say she cheated, so where did she get the answers from?" "The questions are set by renowned teachers from the province. She had no access to them. The only possibility is that she got them from me." "Right." The teacher fell silent. Zhou Yusi was right. I neither had the connections nor the money to buy answers from the question setters. The most believable rumor now was that Zhou Yusi had bribed a teacher and shared the answers with me. But pinning the blame on me versus on Zhou Yusi was a completely different matter. I knew very well that Zhou Yusi was determinedly linking us together to leverage his family's influence over the school. Grateful, I shot him a thankful look. The teacher's face grew sweatier as he saw the situation unfavorable for further pressing us, so he turned to Chi-han and asked, "Chi-han, tell the teacher, did you really see Xiao Linqi cheating? Maybe you were mistaken, and it's all just a misunderstanding." His tone was coaxing, almost suggestive, but at this stage, Chi-han couldn't possibly back down. Clenching his teeth, he insisted. I saw it with my own eyes. The teacher fell silent, his gaze shifting back and forth between the two groups, unsure of how to proceed. Since he had already mentioned that the camera was broken, to now say it was fixed would expose his hypocrisy. He couldn't allow his authority as a teacher to be undermined. Chi-han also grasped this point, which is why he stubbornly refused to give in, just as the standoff continued. A clear female voice suddenly came from the door. I can testify. My heart sank bit by bit as Jiang Jiayao walked into the office. How could I forget about her? She and Chi-han were sitting on either side of me at the time. If she now corroborated Chi-han's story that I cheated, I would truly be unable to clear my name even if I jumped into the Yellow River. Zhou Yusi, sensing my distress, subtly hooked his little finger with mine where no one could see. Don't panic. Whether it was his reassurance or not, my heart calmed down. In contrast, Chi-han's eyes sparkled, seemingly certain that Jiang Jiayao would support him. The teacher asked, Jiang, what testimony do you have? Jiang Jiayao looked at Chi-han, then at me, and finally took a deep breath as if mustering courage, and said, I can testify that Xiao Linqi did not cheat. What? Chi-han was also stunned. He was the first to react, desperately stepping forward to grab Jiang Jiayao's clothes and shouting. What are you talking about? Zhou Yusi's eyes narrowed, and he stepped forward to grab Chi-han by the collar, forcing him to retreat. The scene became chaotic, interspersed with the teacher trying to mediate. Hey, no fighting. Jiang Jiayao looked terrified, her face pale, but still, she bravely stood by my side and said, I was sitting right next to Xiao Linqi at the time, and I can assure you she did not cheat. She was solving problems so quickly that I was a bit surprised and ended up watching her more closely. I can assure you, she never pulled out any cheat sheets or engaged in cheating throughout the entire exam. After she finished speaking, the whole office fell silent. Only the students outside the door who were following the drama suddenly burst into a chorus of hisses. Chi-han was still feebly trying to defend himself. They were all in cahoots. The class teacher, rubbing his temples in frustration, said to me, You three can go now. Chi-han, you stay. As we stepped outside, I said to Jiang Jiayao, Thank you. Jiang Jiayao turned her face away, looking a bit embarrassed, yet her tone was still firm. Don't thank me. I was just telling the truth. Besides, I've realized now that Chi-han is not worth my affection. However, she continued, turning to look at me, I still dislike you. With that, she turned on her heel and walked away, her head held high. Watching her retreating figure, I smiled wryly, as if I finally understood why Chi-han had been so infatuated with her in the past. Zhou Yusi waved his hand in front of my face. What are you staring at? I came back to my senses and shook my head. Nothing, just thinking, she's braver than me. The school's decision regarding Chi-han was to issue a formal reprimand, which would be recorded on his student file. Slandering someone else would now be a permanent stain on his record. I knew that the school took such a strong stance partly because Zhou Yusi had pushed for it, but once the Chi-han issue was resolved, I began to interrogate Zhou Yusi, arms crossed and squinting my eyes. I asked, if you could rank second in the whole school, why did you pretend to have poor grades before? Zhou Yusi shrugged. Didn't I tell you? It was boring. I didn't feel like trying, so. Was the test too simple for him to find it interesting? Zhou Yusi continued. After you asked about my grades last time, I thought I'd make a big impression and get you to admire me a bit. Unfortunately, Xiao Linqi, I still couldn't outscore you. I laughed. Sorry, but it looks like you'll have to admire me this time. Zhou Yusi looked at me, his eyes bright. I've always admired you, classmate Xiao Linqi. Perhaps the blow to Chi-han was too severe, as he no longer interfered in my life. But neither did he focus on his studies. His grades continued to decline, even falling out of the top 10 in our grade. A favored son of heaven who had never faced defeat could end up in such a downfall. Well, even if it's this lifetime's Chi-han paying for the sins of his past life, I rightfully received a prize of 10,000 yuan and gave half of it to Zhou Yusi as rent. He did not refuse and accepted it promptly, even introducing me to a tutoring job, for hours a week at 100 yuan per hour. Enough to cover my weekly expenses. I accepted his kindness without any awkwardness. Life went on smoothly. I never slacked off in my studies, so my grades remained stable. Zhou Yusi occasionally skipped exams, but no one said he was in the elite class because of his money anymore. Whatever agreement he reached with his parents, in this life, he didn't transfer schools and stayed at No. 13 high school. Moving into the senior year, Zhou Yusi finally started taking his studies seriously. He was naturally smart and had access to the best teachers in the country due to his family background, securing a solid second place in our grade. Of course, I ranked first. Each time I came first, the things Jihan had done to me were brought up again, and he was ridiculed and scorned anew. That phrase, "I will defeat you in every exam," became his relentless nightmare, perhaps unable to bear the pointing fingers. A month before the college entrance exams, Jihan decided to go home and study on his own. As for Jiang Jiayao, in this life, she saw Jihan's true nature early on and timely withdrew her feelings. I bumped into them in the corridor several times. Jihan always looked at her as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. Jiang Jiayao, on the other hand, would pass him by without changing her expression. So you see, Jihan, what goes around comes around. Those who betray sincerity may not swallow 1,000 needles, but they do receive their just desserts. On the day the admission notices were issued, Zhou Yusi and I were admitted to the same university. There was no melodramatic sacrifice of a better life for each other. Because we were both excellent, we got into the best university in the province. As for Jihan, I heard he performed poorly in the exams and ended up at a university I had never even heard of. Jiang Jiayao was sent abroad by her family, I remember in the last life. She also went abroad, and that's when she broke off contact with Jihan. If this were a fairy tale, this would be the end. The good are rewarded, and the wicked are punished. However, the princess in fairy tales doesn't have a toxic family of origin, so my story continues. After entering university, Zhou Yusi and I got together. My parents, having heard some news, thought I had snagged a wealthy suitor and came to my school overnight to find me. When the counselor called me into the office, I was still bewildered, but as soon as I entered, my mother rushed to embrace me, smearing my clothes with her tears and snot. "Xiaoqi, you are so heartless. Have you no need for your parents anymore? How many years has it been since you came home? Your parents have been so worried searching for you." After I collected myself, I couldn't help but laugh in frustration. "Looking for me, when I ran away from home. I was just 20 meters from our front door where I ran into Zhou Yusi and stood there for half an hour, yet you didn't come out to look for me. And now you put on this act." The counselor, unaware of the truth, thought I was the disloyal daughter who ran away from home and looked quite stern. She said, "Xiao Linqi, if there are issues, you need to communicate properly with your parents. Look how old they are and yet they've come all this way to find you. That's not easy." I smiled tightly, my face apologetic. "I'm sorry, teacher, I wasn't thoughtful enough and caused you trouble. I'll take my parents out and settle them first. Goodbye, teacher." Seeing my sincere attitude, the counselor didn't say much more, just waved her hand. "All right, I'll give you 2 days off. Spend them well with your parents." I nodded repeatedly and pushed my parents out of the office. Only after leaving the office did my parents' confused expressions remain. They had hoped to make a scene in front of the counselor to intimidate me. They would threaten me with things like, "Believe it or not, I can make a scene that will make you infamous across the whole school," trying to blackmail me for money. Having known them for over 20 years, wasn't I aware of their schemes? They probably didn't expect that I wouldn't argue with them but instead dismissed the teacher with just a few words. As soon as the office door closed, my mother seemed to snap back to reality, trying to reach past me to grab the door handle. "No, we need to clear this up in front of the teacher." I grabbed her hand firmly, my smile not reaching my eyes. "If you dare go back in, I won't give you a cent." My father came up and slapped my hand away. "You ungrateful child, what do you take your mother and me for?" Ignoring the sting on the back of my hand, I looked up coldly at this man who was my father in the biological sense. "You can go in and make a scene, but open your eyes and see, I am no longer the obedient daughter you used to push around. Take this chance to talk reasonably and leave with me." It was a silent confrontation. After what seemed like an eternity, the executioner finally admitted defeat. My dad lowered his voice and turned to my mom, saying, "Let's go outside to talk." In a private booth at the coffee shop near the school entrance, a middle-aged woman was shedding crocodile tears while the man beside her frowned and remained silent. "Your brother took money from us to study, but when we asked his teachers, we found out he never went to school. He gambled it away," she revealed. "He spent 30,000 in 1 month and came back with a mountain of debt. We paid it off for him the first time, and he knelt and swore never to do it again. But a month later, the creditors were knocking on our door. 100,000. Your father and I had to dig into our savings, money we were saving for your brother's wedding." At this point, she was nearly wailing, torn between the pain for her son and the daughter-in-law who suffered without even entering the family. "If it weren't for dire circumstances, your father and I wouldn't have come to you. We're really at our wits' end." I slightly furrowed my brows. have you sold the house or the car? Her crying stopped abruptly. Both of them looked up at me in astonishment. I continued calmly, it seems you haven't sold them. Is this what you call being at your wit's end? My dad, feeling as if his deepest fears were exposed, suddenly burst into anger in a state of extreme guilt. You ungrateful child, what do you mean? Do you expect your mother and I to be homeless before we can ask for your help? Should I, your father, kneel before you? Go ahead, I interrupted, articulating every word. You said it, so follow through. Kneel, anyone can talk. Who are you trying to morally blackmail here? Fine, you've grown wings. His face turned from blue to white, and finally, he sat down with a dark face. I shifted to a more comfortable position and chuckled lightly. You both keep asking for my help, but I'm just a college student. Where would I get the money? The couple exchanged glances, and the room fell into a brief silence. After a while, my mom tried to lighten the mood with a forced laugh. Xiaoqi, you can stop hiding it from us. Your father and I heard that you're dating the young master of Zhou Group, isn't that right? As expected, the smile on my lips turned cold. That's just dating. Why should I ask him for money? Upon hearing this, my mom sensed an opportunity and hastily added, why can't you ask him for money? It's just 100,000, to him, it's mere pocket change. And this is for your own brother. My dad, who had been silent, snorted disdainfully and arrogantly added, besides, if he wants to marry you in the future, the bride price would be more than 100,000. What's wrong with taking a bit in advance, especially since he's been with my daughter, Xia Jiqian? I slammed the table, losing my composure for the first time today. Even though I was prepared, I couldn't believe such words came from my own father. In his eyes, his daughter was a bargaining chip for wealth, a tool to save his son, nothing more than a living being with dignity. Seeing my outburst, he lowered his voice but still looked dissatisfied. What are you yelling for? I'm not wrong. I massaged my forehead and said, I don't have money, and it's impossible for me to ask Zhou Yusi, but it wasn't easy for you to come all this way, so stay in my apartment for a couple of days, and then we can figure something out for my brother. They wanted to protest after hearing the first half of my statement, but after hearing the rest, my mom pulled on my dad's sleeve and subtly shook her head. Watching their little gestures, I secretly chuckled to myself, if you hadn't come to me today, it would have been better for us to go our separate ways, but I know you won't let go of this money tree, so, no matter what happens in the future, don't blame me. 19, sometimes, because my tutoring sessions run late, I often miss the curfew, so I simply rented an apartment off campus. As soon as my mom walked in, she started to lament with a hint of sarcasm. Your brother is back home living a life of hiding and dodging, while you're living comfortably. I didn't indulge her and retorted, did I force him to gamble? Did I tell him to hide? Sometimes, that's just how people are. If you obediently comply, they only get worse, but if you lose your temper, they are the ones who end up staying quiet. After I said that, my mom immediately shut up. My dad just lay down on the sofa, crossing his legs, and looking at a photo of me and Zhou Yusi on the coffee table. He said, I never imagined that one day I, Xia Jiqian, would become Zhou's father-in-law. When will you bring this young man over to meet us? I scoffed internally, thinking it would never happen, but I replied, when there's time. Just then, as my mom was looking around, she suddenly pointed at a safe and asked, what's in here? I looked up, flustered, and said, nothing. My parents exchanged a glance, and my dad gave me a meaningful look. You've grown up, keeping secrets from your parents now. I didn't respond. These days, as I was busy with classes, my parents just stayed in the apartment, eating and drinking. Occasionally, they would see me and ask me to find a way to gather money for my brother. One day, as soon as I entered, I saw the dining table filled with gift bags. A sense of unease immediately tightened around my heart. Holding a luxury handbag, my mom came up to me with a smile. Xiaoqi, do you think this bag looks nice? Yusi chose it especially for mom. That was the last straw for me. I stepped forward abruptly, grabbed her arm, and said through gritted teeth, you went to see Zhou Yusi. My mom shrugged off my hand with an indifferent expression. Well, if you refuse to help your brother, then your dad and I had no choice but to ask our future son-in-law. You have no idea, that office building, TSK. I had planned for so long to handle my family's issues on my own, but I never imagined they would shamelessly approach Zhou Yusi for money. I took a deep breath. Let's go. Give everything back. What are you talking about? My dad quickly came over and pulled my mom away, looking down at me. These are gifts from a younger generation to their elders. There's no reason to return them. I couldn't contain my anger. If you don't return them, you two can get out of my apartment today. Upon hearing this, my mom suddenly sat down on the floor and cried, "I raised you all these years, never thought I'd be driven out by my own daughter one day." My head began to spin with rage. I couldn't imagine what embarrassing and vulgar things they might have said to Zhou Yusi, nor could I imagine how Zhou Yusi would view me now. "Uncle, Auntie, what's going on here?" Suddenly, a male voice appeared behind me. I turned sharply, facing Zhou Yusi's puzzled, smiling face. "It's nothing." "It's nothing." Seeing Zhou Yusi had arrived, my mom quickly got up from the floor, dusted off her clothes, and chuckled. "I was just playing around with Xiaoqi. Come in, have a seat." I looked down at his shoes, biting my lip. So embarrassing. I just felt an unprecedented level of embarrassment. I had wanted to handle things on my own. I didn't want him to think less of me. "Let's go." A warm hand wrapped around my shoulder, guiding me towards the living room. "No crying now. The show is just beginning." I suddenly looked up. What did he mean? 20. In the safe in my apartment, I had placed 30,000 yuan. My original plan was for them to notice this money and steal it by breaking the lock. We've installed a pet camera in the living room. When the evidence is in hand, I'll be able to use the threat of calling the police to force them out of my life. However, I didn't expect Zhou Yusi to get involved midway. My parents were ahead, busy cutting fruits and wiping the table, trying to make a good impression in front of Zhou Yusi to secure this golden bachelor. But he was behind, whispering to me in a voice only the two of us could hear. "You prepared so much. How come you left me out?" I was surprised. "You knew?" Zhou Yusi raised an eyebrow. "I've had my suspicions since the day you bought that old-fashioned, insecure safe. Who would choose such a thing unless they wanted it to be easily broken into? There's obviously no pet at home, yet you bought a camera. I was wondering why until your tutor told me your parents were visiting, and then everything made sense." I suddenly felt a wave of relief. Thankfully he had guessed, and I'm grateful for that. He didn't think less of me, and it didn't create any distance between us. More importantly, I wasn't alone in carrying this painful burden anymore. But then, I suddenly asked, puzzled, "If you knew all along, why did you still give them gifts?" Zhou Yusi smiled mysteriously and held me tighter. "I know you're willing to do anything to get rid of them, but I wouldn't want you to tarnish your reputation by reporting your own parents. Let me handle this." I stared at his face, dumbfounded, moved, surprised, and overwhelmed. Various emotions swirled in my chest. Finally, it all came down to one sentence. "Okay, I trust you." For the past few days, my parents have been treating the Zhou Corporation building like their own home, visiting every other day. Each time they returned, they brought back a pile of luxury gifts. They even began planning how to marry me off to the Zhou family sooner to get a hefty dowry. Although I was annoyed, I endured it because of Zhou Yusi's plan, until one day, I saw a USB drive on the living room coffee table. It stood out among the other luxury items. "What's this?" I picked it up and asked curiously. To my surprise, my mother suddenly lunged forward and snatched the USB drive back, saying in a panic, "It's nothing. I bought it myself." I thought to myself, you don't even know how to turn on a computer. What could you possibly need to store on a USB drive? Could it be something she swiped from Zhou Yusi's office? I held back my emotions and stepped aside to text. "USB drive." Zhou Yusi quickly replied. Yes, I understood. After so many days, the big moment was finally about to unfold. The next day, Zhou Yusi's assistant came to our house. "Oh, isn't this Xiao Chen?" My mother was just about to greet him when Xiao Chen, looking flustered, bypassed her. "Miss Xia, the boss sent me to ask if you've seen this item." He pulled out his phone, and the screen clearly displayed the USB drive I had seen the day before. From the corner of my eye, I saw my mother's expression stiffen instantly. I didn't answer directly, but instead asked, "What happened?" Xiao Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, "This contains our company's trade secrets, which have always been carefully stored in the boss's office. We couldn't find it today when we needed it for a meeting, so the boss sent me to see if it's been left at your house." As soon as he finished speaking, my mother couldn't wait to interject. Is that very important?" Xiao Chen said, "Of course, it's crucial, Auntie. This is a project worth several billion. If it falls into the hands of our competitors, it would be disastrous." My mother's face turned pale, and she was at a loss for words. "I'll look for it," I replied. "Contact Zhou Yusi if you find it. You can go back first," I said to Xiao Chen. After he left, I turned around and asked, "The USB drive you took home yesterday, was it the one Zhou Yusi lost?" My mother nodded frantically. "Yes, where is it now?" "I gave it to someone." I suddenly raised my voice. "What did you say?" My mother patted her chest and gave me a displeased look. "Why are you yelling? It's just that, these past few days, your father and I met a young man. When he heard I was Yusi's mother-in-law, he asked if I could show him the drive. I was almost driven to tears by her foolishness. Just because someone asks, you gave it to them. Do you realize this is stealing? But they paid for it. 200,000. Think about your brother's situation still being unresolved. Yusi has given many gifts recently, but never cash. I can't just sell my bags to save your brother. Besides, with the 200,000, half can be used to pay off debts, and the other half can buy your brother a car. Isn't that great? I closed my eyes and took a deep breath to hold back the swear words rising to my throat. Why can't I sell the bags? Clearly, she wants both the bags and the cash. It all boils down to one thing, vanity. At that moment, my father was also drawn out by the noise, still putting on airs. He commanded, it's just whatever drive, just get someone to ask for it back. What's the big deal about making such a fuss here? I held my forehead and sighed. Didn't you hear what Shachin just said? It contains commercial secrets. Even if we get the USB drive back, the contents have surely been copied by now. It's like throwing away billions. Do you understand? When they find out it was you who stole it, we will have to call the police, and you will go to jail. Do you understand? Hearing the word jail, my mother collapsed onto the sofa muttering, how can it be so serious? Suddenly, she lunged toward me. Xiaoqi, you have to save your mom and dad. Your brother is still in trouble. We can't afford to go to jail. Please beg Yusi for mercy. I showed a helpless expression. It's a big project. It's not something Zhou Yusi can decide alone. Above him, there's his father and the board. I grabbed her wrist. Mom, let's turn ourselves in. Maybe we can get out sooner. Impossible. My mom pushed me away. What self-surrender? Are you crazy? She then turned her gaze to my dad. Old man, say something. We can't go to jail. Unexpectedly, my usually irritable dad calmed down, sighed, and said to me, we were wrong, and we must admit it, but we really can't face Yusi now. Could you please invite him here now? We will apologize to him in person. As for what happens next, we'll leave it to him. Before he could finish, my mom showed an incredulous expression. Xia Jiqiang, are you crazy? You want to go to jail, but I don't. I'm too old. I might just die in there. Why should I? Slap. A slap rang out crisp and loud. My dad, pointing to my mom who was knocked to the ground, scolded, in front of our daughter, we must own up to our actions. Consider it the last lesson we give her. Not wanting to watch this drama any longer, I turned and grabbed the door handle. Alright, I'll go get Zhou Yusi. 2 hours later, I returned home. I had ordered takeout in Zhou Yusi's office and brewed a pot of tea. Finally, leisurely, I brought him back home. Upon opening the door, as expected, they had already vanished. They were so hurried they didn't even have time to pry open the safe, saving me 30,000 yuan. It's really you who understands them. Guessing they would run, I chuckled lightly, with a mix of mockery and reflection. From now on, they would probably avoid me at all costs, never again coming to cause trouble willingly. That USB drive, is it okay? Zhou Yusi shook his head. No worries. It contained fake information. If the Liu family believes it to be true, they'll just fall into our trap. Instead, it works to our advantage, I said with a smile. Director Zhou, this move of yours really kills two birds with one stone. Excellent strategy. Zhou Yusi raised his eyebrows slightly. Do you admire me a lot? On his face, which still carried a carefree arrogance, I seemed to see the boy from many years ago. I said, I always have. Classmate Zhou Yusi. Extra story. Today, during a hospital inspection, I encountered a couple causing a scene. Hospital disturbances are not uncommon, but everything changed when I saw the patient's name, Xiao Linqi. It's not a very common name, so I was almost immediately sure it was her. On a whim, I had Xiaochen look into what had happened. It wasn't long before he reported back. So, she donated all her money, and her parents disagreed. I asked. Xiaochen nodded. That's right, boss. I fell into deep thought, reminded of the days when I was still in high school. Back when my parents were busy with their business, they often had me moving from one school to another. Sometimes I'd be at a school for a few months, other times, it could be half a year. As a result, I hardly ever made any friends. While studying in City A, I stumbled upon a secret hideout. It was an abandoned factory that grew incredibly dim at dusk. At night, it was so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, but I loved that darkness. It became my refuge on days when I had nowhere else to go after school and didn't want to go home. One day, as I sat there lost in thought, I heard footsteps accompanied by the sound of a girl crying. I really don't have any money. Please let me go, she pleaded. Under the moonlight, I could vaguely make out a stocky figure who retorted, "Who only carries $5 nowadays, stop pretending and hand it over." Another, thinner boy said, "Boss, it's really dark here. And there are rumors about ghosts, maybe we should leave and find someone else to rob, stop wasting time, we'll get the money faster and then we can go online." Finding someone else would waste too much time, the leader snapped back, then turned to pressure the girl again to give up her money, but the girl kept insisting, "I really don't have any money, my parents don't give me any." Clearly annoyed, the leader continued, "No money? What about that red string around your neck? What's hanging from it? Some jade, hand it over." Summoning courage from somewhere, the girl refused. "No, this was left to me by my grandmother." As the stocky boy reached out to snatch it, a struggle ensued. Normally, I never interfere in these matters, but maybe because I was in a good mood that day, I suddenly felt compelled to intervene. I picked up a rock from the ground and threw it at them. Ouch. The rock missed the stocky boy and hit the thinner one instead. He screamed. "There's a ghost, a real ghost." Annoyed by his shouting, the leader yelled, "What are you screaming about, boss? It's true. I got hit by a ghost. Feel my head, it's swollen." The thin boy trembled, though the leader tried to act tough. His voice shook. "Nonsense. There's no such thing as ghosts." "Ah." Another stone hit him right in the forehead. Stuttering, he said, I was hit by a ghost too. Lucky day for you. We're out of here." With that, they fled the factory. I folded my arms, leisurely watching the girl who still stood there, half expecting her to scream and run away too, but she didn't. Instead, she opened her arms and groped her way towards me, saying, "Kind person, thank you." I raised an eyebrow, a materialist, perhaps. As she nearly reached me, I felt compelled to stop her. "Stay there." She obediently halted, but before she could steady herself, she tripped over a stone and fell to the ground. Probably new to the factory, she wasn't used to the darkness. And now everything before her was pitch black. She didn't get up, likely still pondering why I asked her to stop, so she stayed put, unsure whether to advance or retreat. I sighed. Why was she so clumsy? Sitting on the ground, she looked up, trying to make out my face in vain. "What's your name?" she asked. "Do you also go to middle school?" "No." 13. I didn't respond to her but simply extended my hand and said, "Get up." She seemed not to notice my hand reaching out. Instead, she misheard my words. "Chi-Han, the Chi-Han from the elite class, who..." I opened my mouth to respond but ended up not contradicting her. Subconsciously, I didn't want to get too involved with the people here since I knew I'd eventually leave, so I withdrew my hand and said indifferently, "I'm leaving." With that, I strode away. The girl called out from behind me, "Chi-Han, thank you, I will come to find you." I later recognized her because she became known in the school as someone who constantly followed Chi-Han around. At the time, my first thought was relief that I hadn't given my real name, otherwise, I would have been endlessly bothered. But later on, as I dined alone and walked alone, I would often see her clinging to Chi-Han. That made me wonder uncontrollably, what if I had told her my real name? Would she admire me like she admires Chi-Han? What does it feel like to be admired? But it was just a thought. Meanwhile, I also remembered her name, Xiao Linqi. Later on, as before, I transferred schools and left. I had long since put everything behind me. Unexpectedly, many years later, I would meet her again and still remember her name. Holding my forehead, I instructed Xiao Chen, "Give her the best equipment in the hospital, the best room, but don't let her find out. As for the medical expenses, calculate them as before." Xiao Chen looked troubled and regretful as he said, "Boss, it's no use, she has already." I was somewhat stunned, then there was a long silence. Coming to my senses, I waved my hand. "You may go now." A few months later, Xiao Linqi passed away in a hospital owned by my company. I had saved her once but couldn't save her a second time. I felt some sorrow. A few days later, I received an invitation. My assistant said, it was personally delivered by the bridegroom of the Jiang family, saying he was your high school classmate and insisting you grace the occasion. It was clear enough. A son-in-law who married into the wife's family, the Jiang family. I had no particular memory of them, though it seemed like we had some minor business dealings, but among so many high school classmates, who could remember everyone? Yet, when I opened the invitation, I fell silent. Chi-Han, Jiang Jiao. It indeed was a name I remembered. Seeing my expression, Xiao Chen hurriedly added, "They say Miss Jiang studied abroad for a few years, and Mr. Chi has been waiting for her all this while." Touched by his devotion, she hurried to marry him as soon as she returned. They've already had one lavish and romantic wedding which was even touted by the media as the wedding of the century. This is their second one. specially inviting business elites, probably to pave the way for Mr. Chi's company. I raised an eyebrow, catching the key point. Chi Han's company, Xiaochen continued. Yes, Mr. Jiang thinks highly of this son-in-law and gave him a sum of money to start a business. Oh, and our company has ongoing collaborations with Chi's company. I almost immediately said, cancel it. Xiaochen, who had been speaking fluently, suddenly stuttered. What? I repeated, cancel our collaboration with Chi's company, no matter the cost, and send out a message. Anyone who partners with Chi's company should not come to Zhou Group for any business. Confused, Xiaochen instinctively asked, why, boss? Looking at the names on the invitation, I finally said, because he's a thief. After Chi's company went bankrupt, I visited Xiaolin Qi, standing in front of her modest tombstone. I suddenly didn't know what to say. I felt inexplicably guilty. Her life had taken a tragic turn from the moment she fell in love with Chi Han. And the beginning of that tragedy was something I had inadvertently set in motion. Would you blame me? I asked softly, but there was no answer. Only the gentle breeze brushes past my ears, like a sigh. I say, though it's many years overdue, allow me to formally introduce myself. Hello, my name is Zhou Yusi. Story 2. My best friend took it upon herself to deliver my love letter to the school bully. She even said that the bully agreed and asked me to kiss him publicly so he could reveal our relationship. In reality, she was already with the school bully. I just smiled and said, okay, a kiss. Then I turned and kissed the childhood friend who had always been by my side in my past life. My childhood friend was baffled. Thank heavens, I'd been reborn before my best friend swapped our fortunes and beauty. Have you ever heard of fortune swapping? It's when someone sticks by your side, relies on you, imitates you, seduces you, and eventually, they take away all the good luck and even the beauty that belongs to you. In my past life, Tang Yi did exactly that to me. As the holiday approached, the school organized a party. The school bully, Xing Wei, performed a street dance, and Tang Yi instigated me to go up and kiss him at the end. She just wanted me to be rejected on the spot and humiliated in front of the whole school. On the way to the auditorium, Tang Yi affectionately came over to link arms with me. I used to think she did it because she liked me. Now I know, she just wanted to increase physical contact to gradually swap our fortunes. I held my books in front of my chest and subtly avoided her. Buzz, buzz, my phone vibrated. The teacher announced the shortlist for the design competition in our class group, thoughtfully tagging each student. My name, Wan Xiang, was prominently on the list. Tang Yi was more excited than I was, and she made a move to hug me. I stepped forward to dodge her. She missed and fell empty, yet her tone was still cheerful, as if she was the winner. Xiang, you're so awesome. You're definitely going to win the grand prize this time. Yes, if everything that's mine ends up being hers, of course she'd be happy. The prize is 100,000 yuan. Don't forget to treat me to something nice. I scoffed. What if I don't win the grand prize? Don't worry. The grand prize will definitely be yours. If not, I'll treat you to a big meal. I remember it clearly. The winner of the grand prize was Wengu, my childhood friend who grew up with me. I won the first prize, with a prize of 5,000 yuan, but Tang Yi always did this. No matter what I did, she always elevated my expectations to the highest. Winning a prize should have been a happy occasion, but she kept hinting I could achieve better, endlessly raising my expectations. So when reality didn't meet those expectations, I felt psychologically unbalanced. What should have been a celebration, turned into dissatisfaction and complaints. She would also speak ill of the people who ranked ahead of me, unscrupulously siding with me and comforting me. This prevented me from knowing my true capabilities and from progressing. The longer this resentment built up, the less good fortune I had. It turns out, those who only offer sweet words are not truly friends. In the auditorium, Tang Yi specifically chose seats near the stage. Xiang, come sit here. It was nothing more than wanting to get me closer to the center. I went ahead and sat down. Well, since you want to play this game, I'll play along fully. The show still had some time before starting. I opened my textbook to review today's lessons. Just as I reached the second point, I was suddenly dazzled by a flash. Instinctively, I looked towards the source of the light. A skinny boy was holding up his phone. His face flushed red. As our eyes met, he quickly lowered his head and hid behind the chair. His buddies beside him teased and encouraged him. Go for it, Song Jing. Haven't you liked Goddess Ruan Xiang for a long time? Yeah, at least talk to her. Hurry up, hurry up. A boy named Song Jing clenched his fists as if he had made a big decision. He lowered his head and rushed up to me. Senior Ruan, I'm sorry for secretly taking photos just now. It was wrong of me, he said. Quickly bowing deeply at a 90-degree angle, I helped him up and said with a smile, "It's alright, how about we take a photo together?" "Really, can we?" he asked. I turned to Tang Yi and handed her Song Jing's phone. "Of course, Tang Yi. Could you take a photo of us?" Tang Yi, caught off guard by my sudden request and managed to mask her rolling eyes with a forced smile. "Sure, Xiang is really popular, isn't she?" Her tone barely hid her jealousy as I smiled even wider for the camera. Our school focuses on academics and doesn't really do contests for the most attractive students. But it's obvious to anyone with eyes who looks good and who doesn't. Song Jing almost skipped back to his seat. "Bro, you're the man," his friends teased him. "Getting a photo with the goddess Ruan Xiang is even more thrilling than beating me." My stomach rumbled with hunger since I hadn't eaten anything yet. I turned back and winked at Wengu. "Wengu, I'm hungry." I had noticed Wengu sitting behind me while taking the photo with Song Jing. He always seemed to be there, quietly invisible, silently watching over me. This time, I wanted to acknowledge him. Wengu looked up from his textbook, his dark hair framing eyes that shined brighter than the stars. He stared at me, stunned, as if confirming whether I was really speaking to him. Seeing his bewildered expression, I couldn't help but tease him a bit. "So, the bread wasn't for me, huh?" I pouted. Before I could even turn away, Wengu handed me a small loaf of bread from his bag, whispering, "It's for you." It always has been. I knew it always had been. Wengu had started carrying chocolate bread for me since I was a child because of my anemia, a habit that hadn't changed over the years, though I hadn't noticed it in my past life. Tang Yi reached over to snatch my bread, exclaiming, "You can't eat that. You'll get fat." Such petty actions often have repercussions, like attracting bad luck to oneself first. No wonder Tang Yi was more critical of my lifestyle than even my mother. I stuffed the bread into my mouth and mumbled, "I'll get fat if I want. What's it to you?" After all, I was anemic and not actually overweight. Tang Yi had been dragging me to diet, which only made me feel worse. The host took the stage, and the evening event began quickly, when Xingwei, the school tyrant, appeared. Cries of admiration erupted from his fangirls below the stage. "Ah, he's so handsome, Xingwei, I love you." I could only give a wry smile, remembering how in my previous life, I too was one of those fangirls. Truthfully, Xingwei wasn't that handsome. Any tall guy who isn't overweight and dresses up a bit looks pretty decent. It was his bad boy allure that had drawn me to him. People always want what they lack. And I had always been the good girl. What's there to like about a school tyrant? Really, nothing more than a thug with money and influence, often the instigator of most school bullying. Luckily, life had given me a second chance. As Xingwei's performance ended, Tang Yi stood up like an old madam and announced, "Everyone, please quiet down, and could the lighting technician spotlight us? Wan Xiang has something to do." Everyone knew I had a crush on Xingwei, and her timing to quiet everyone down seemed calculated to stir up trouble. Evidenced by the whistles that began to sound from the crowd, in my previous life, I foolishly went on stage to kiss Xingwei, only to be publicly rejected by him. I became the laughingstock of the school and never recovered from that downfall. Tang Yi took advantage of my vulnerability, comforting me daily, until she eventually stole my luck and beauty. As I stood up, I saw Xingwei's impatiently raised eyebrow. Tang Yi anxiously pushed me outwards. In a turn, I kissed Wengu instead. The whole room was in uproar. Wengu's eyes lit up, his long eyelashes trembling slightly. Seeing the redness slowly forming in Wengu's eyes, my heart sank even more. "Wengu, I've liked you for a long time. Can we be together?" I asked. The front row seats were lower than the back, and I leaned forward to kiss Wengu. The auditorium was so quiet you could hear a pin drop, just as I was about to lose my balance. Without hearing any response, suddenly a pair of strong hands supported my waist. The owner of the hands was trembling, and Wengu closed his eyes. After taking a deep breath, he stuttered passionately, "Conf, confessing like this, how could I let you do it?" Wengu's Adam's apple bobbed twice, tears shimmering in his eyes as he choked up and asked, "Wan Xiang, will you be my lover?" His gaze held me as if I were a rare treasure. My heart ached sharply. In my last life, after I died, Wengu visited my grave every day. He kept me company watching the sunset, rain or shine. Just because I had once told him I wanted to watch the sunset with my lover every day, Wengu visited so often that he became familiar with the old caretaker of the graves. "Young man, who is buried here for you, my lover." Calling her a girlfriend seemed too trivial. "Please allow me to address you as my lover. In my last life, until my death, I never let Wengu's secret admiration see the light of day. This life." Under the brightest stage lights, I loudly said, "Yes." We kissed under the gaze of countless eyes. Surrounding us were sobs, cheers, and mostly applause of blessings. Only one overly sharp voice stood out. Tang Yi pulled me away, hysterically questioning, "Weren't you in love with the school tyrant Xing Wei? Why did you kiss Wengu?" Wengu frowned slightly. I thought he was jealous and angry. Instead, he disdainfully helped me pull away Tang Yi's arm, after freeing me. He made a face as if his hands were dirty and he couldn't wash them immediately. His expression was quite expressive. It turns out that although Wengu seemed reserved, he had such an adorable side. Xing Wei on stage also rarely lifted his cap and gave me a proper look. His gaze was still proud, but now tinged with a bit of playfulness and loss. I looked at Tang Yi and said word by word, "Because I like Wengu, truly." Hearing my response, Wengu quickly looked down at his toes. His ears turned a shade of pink, betraying his owner's feelings. He was not as calm as he appeared. Seeing things not going her way, Tang Yi glared furiously and exploded. "How is that possible? You clearly liked Xing Wei, and you always had me help you give him things." I did indeed like Xing Wei once, from breakfasts and drinks to sneakers and watches. I had given them all. I thought I was secretly expressing my affection, but because of Tang Yi's proactive help, it became embarrassingly public. I was Xing Wei's lackey, yet every time, it was Tang Yi who delivered the gifts. It was Tang Yi who stood beside the school tyrant, and it was Tang Yi who spent the most time with the school tyrant. She claimed to be helping me, holding on to my things. Tang Yi played matchmaker for me and Xing Wei. Whenever asked who the gift was from, she would coyly smile ambiguously. Girls shouldn't be too forward. Being reserved is what attracts boys. Xiang xiang. You're not like me. I'm more forthright. It's easy for me to talk to them. These were common phrases Tang Yi would often say, but when she went to help me deliver gifts, no matter how cold it was, she'd wear short skirts and long boots with bare legs. Over time, Xing Wei's friends started to see Tang Yi as their sister-in-law. But where in the world is there such a good deal? Whatever Tang Yi took from me, I vowed to take back double. I scoffed lightly, my laughter filled with scorn. What? Isn't the school hunk the one you like? College students, though clear-eyed, aren't fools. My question, coupled with the rumors swirling around, made it easy to guess that Tang Yi, using her role as a matchmaker, had stolen the man her friend liked. It's not terrible for two sisters to fall for the same person. What disgusts me is the pretense of disinterest while secretly competing. Such covert rivalry is really low. I said, exposing her true intentions while she was reluctant to clear things up with the school hunk. Tang Yi was momentarily speechless, scrambling for words, but managed only one. This reaction, witnessed by others, confirmed her actions. By the time she thought to counter, it was too late. Suddenly, she remembered something and pulled out a love letter from her bag that she was supposed to pass from me to the school hunk. She glanced at me triumphantly, then began to cry. "Wan Xiang, you knew I liked Xing Wei, so why did you write him a love letter?" What a revelation. Suddenly, I'm the shameless one. I avoided Tang Yi's gaze, pretending to be deeply hurt, leaning weakly on Wengu's shoulder. Wengu stiffened, his fists clenched. I gently took his hand, signaling him not to be impulsive. Seeing this, Tang Yi, with a raised eyebrow, triumphantly read the love letter aloud. "Xing Wei, do you know how much I like you? Because I like you, I am humbled to the dust, willing to be called your lapdog." As Tang Yi read emotively, the surrounding students occasionally shot me disdainful looks. Is this still the goddess I admired? This is really shameless. I'm stunned. In my previous life, it was amid such public opinion that I gradually broke down. I nestled into Wengu's embrace. Trembling slightly, laughing, Tang Yi suddenly stopped reading. I snatched the love letter from her hand. "Why stop? Let me help you. Let's see. The signature is, your forever lapdog, Tang Yi." What? So Tang Yi is the lapdog? I was terrified. I thought my goddess had fallen. I stepped between the school hunk and Tang Yi, my gaze fixed on Tang Yi. "Tang Yi, I know you like Xing Wei. I also know you've been hesitant to confess because you're afraid of rejection. Always pretending it's on my behalf. Today is a good opportunity to express your feelings. By the way, about the money you borrowed from me to buy things for Xing Wei, please return it. The total is exactly 58,000, WeChat or Alipay. Since you like taking my things as your own favors, why not pay out of your own pocket?" Caught in a difficult position, Tang Yi squeezed out 3 words through gritted teeth. Alipay. Ironically, there wasn't enough money in her Alipay account. I only received 57,750 on Alipay, the remaining 250, send it to me on WeChat. Tang Yi's face turned green with anger, yet she had to maintain her composure in front of Xing Wei. Once I had the money in hand, I smiled and pulled Wengu away. The rest of the time I'll leave to you two parties involved to resolve it yourselves. The situation had blown up. I heard that after I left. Tang Yi failed to catch the school tyrant's eye. Xing Wei put his cap back on and, declaring boring, walked away, leaving Tang Yi standing there alone, looking like a joke. She was ridiculed by everyone in the auditorium for a long time. Pitiful. I don't think so, because in my past life, I was the one ridiculed in the auditorium. Remembering that scene, I couldn't stop trembling. Is it too cold? Wengu took off his coat and gave it to me, his tone full of concern. I took advantage and snuggled into Wengu's arms. So warm, my heart raced. Wengu's breathing even stopped for a second before he hugged me back tightly, as if afraid I would disappear. Wanxiang. I remembered how Wengu liked to say my name at the cemetery. I'm here, Wanxiang. I'm here. If you like me, you can't like Xing, or anyone else, okay. I unexpectedly discovered that the usually non-confrontational and disciplined Wengu had a domineering side too, a gentle nerd forcing love. How thrilling, I liked it. Later, I found out it wasn't just domineering. It was beyond that. He was so excited he couldn't sleep all night, stayed up solving problems, and organized 8 volumes of nerd notes for me. That's very much like Wengu. 08. I thought Tang Yi would be down for a while after this incident. Unexpectedly, as soon as I opened the dorm door, she knelt down with a thump. My roommates and I were stunned. Even for New Year's, such a grand gesture seemed too much. Xiong. I was wrong. Tang Yi's makeup was smeared from crying. And she lunged towards me, somewhat like a zombie. I quickly stepped back. Oh, what could you have done wrong? Tang Yi, missing her target, cried for a long time, her voice filled with tears, but her mouth only repeated, I was wrong. I was wrong about everything. Please forgive me. Remember how I helped you at the beginning. Don't ignore me. Okay, had Tang Yi not reminded me, I would have almost forgotten. At the beginning of the semester, I had chosen a night elective class at another campus. When I went to retrieve my bicycle after class, I found its tires had been slashed. While waiting for Wengu to pick me up, I was targeted by some thugs. It was Tang Yi who appeared and rescued me. The next day, photos of me struggling with the thugs appeared on the campus forum. A bunch of vile people started making comments based on the pictures. During that time, I was in a very bad mood. It was also Tang Yi who stayed by my side, encouraging and comforting me, but only after I died did I learn that those thugs were hired by Tang Yi. The inappropriate comments and photos on the campus forum, Wengu deleted them all overnight. Tang Yi had approached me just to exchange luck. At that time, I was frightened and emotionally vulnerable. I only saw Tang Yi's enthusiasm and kindness, but I had forgotten that there is never a good deed without a reason. It is especially true that when you are at your most vulnerable, there are very few who genuinely reach out to help. More often, there are those who take advantage of your situation to exploit whatever value you have left. Since then, I've considered Tang Yi as my best friend. When she was distressed because her work was copied by a master, I was the first to rush out to help her defend her rights. But as we fought the battle, I slowly realized, it was Tang Yi who had copied the master's work first. The master had failed to defend his rights and had retaliated in the same manner. Tang Yi hadn't told me any of this beforehand. Suddenly, from being on the just side, I found myself being the unreasonable one, and I even offended the master. Meanwhile, Tang Yi was always by my side saying, I told you, there was no need to fight for rights. I had stood up for her and offended the master, but in the end, she just disappeared into the background, noticing the camera in the corner. I guessed she was up to something again. I quickly helped her up. Alright, I forgive you. I didn't expect to agree so quickly, and Tang Yi seemed a bit confused. Really? Of course, go wash up and get some sleep. In the middle of the night, Tang Yi pulled the bed curtains and busied herself on the bed. The bed emitted a sinister green light. I knew it was the fate-switching notebook. The next day, while Tang Yi and her roommates went out for classes, I locked the door and found Tang Yi's fate-switching notebook. It was an old, worn book. I flipped to the page with my name on it. It shockingly displayed the progress of Tang Yi Xiongruan's fate switch, 65%. Fortunately, things hadn't reached an irreversible point. I quietly changed the progress to 70%. In the following days, I pretended to be friendly with Tang Yi. Whenever I got the chance, I would increase the progress a bit more. Tang Yi became more and more reckless. She was always happy waiting to switch lives with me. She ate without care, didn't take her studies seriously, and even her glances at my boyfriend became increasingly lecherous. In her eyes, soon all of mine would be hers. On the day I changed the progress to 90%, Tang Yi's smug face couldn't be hidden anymore. I was really looking forward to the expression on her face when she discovered the truth. My relationship with Wengu became increasingly affectionate. Before class, Wengu brought me breakfast, thanks. Holding the hot buns, I waved and headed back to the classroom. Wait, Wengu caught me, gently smoothing my disheveled hair with a tender look. The sunlight fell on Wengu, so warm. I reached out and playfully pinched his fair face. Mr. Wen, give me a smile. Wengu, puzzled, still obliged. Wengu smiled, his eyes curving beautifully. I tiptoed and whispered in his ear. Haruki Murakami said, if I love you and you happen to love me too, when your hair is messy, I'd smile and fix it for you. Wengu's breathing slowly became irregular, and as I turned to flee, he pulled me back into his arms, too close. Wengu's intense gaze gradually took on a predatory quality. Oh no, this is just a hallway. Seeing me avoid his gaze, Wengu pulled up his hoodie, engulfing me. Miss Wan, remember to breathe. It's a beautiful hair clip. Ever since I've been with Wengu, I've received little gifts every day. Sometimes it's a peeled grapefruit, sometimes a flower, sometimes a cup of milk tea. I asked Wengu, are you treating me like a child? He replied, what, can't I spoil my own girl? I wondered, doesn't this wear you out? Simplicity works too, you know. Wengu pinched my cheek and said, the effort I spend on you doesn't even reach 1% of my total energy, but because it's for you, it lights up the remaining 99% of my time. And, he leaned closer, Miss Wan, things are pretty calm now, but after we get married, it will get even more exciting. I couldn't believe the reserved Wengu could be so cheeky. My face turned redder and redder. The envious voices around interrupted my thoughts. Wow, that's so pretty. Let me guess, did Wengu, the top student, give it to you? My classmates teased good-naturedly, clearly more spirited after class had ended. After using the restroom, Tangy walked by. She had been quite indulgent with her body and mind lately, her face noticeably rounder, which didn't help her already small eyes. Her eyes lit up when she saw my hair clip and made a move to snatch it, but I dodged her smoothly. Undeterred, she said, Xiong, your new hair clip is really pretty, can I try it on? If this were the past, I would have naively agreed, but now, it's a gift from my boyfriend, I'd rather not lend it out, sorry. The next day, Tangy wore the same model of hair clip. Xiong, I think this design is really nice. Wearing the same model as you don't mind, do you? Haha. It was just like her in the past life. She would compliment my choices, then secretly buy the same things and flaunt them in front of me as if her prior compliments were a license to copy me. This kind of offense was trivial, yet it was like a thorn, occasionally nauseating. As the switch of fate progressed, Tangy slowly replaced me from being a counterfeit. I forced a smile without responding, and the atmosphere turned awkward. Tangy, looking wronged, took off the hair clip. Sorry. I didn't think you'd mind such a small thing. Wow, the first time I see someone so wronged while being disgusting. What an eye-opener, quipped Qin Xuan, a model I had found at school. Speaking up for me, I gave Qin Xuan a thumbs up. She was recognized as a striking beauty at school, beautiful and aggressive, with a straightforward personality, fitting perfectly the theme of the strong female lead in my recent designs. I thanked her as we walked downstairs. Thanks for speaking up for me. Don't mention it. You're paying above market rate. Speaking up for you is the least I can do. Let's work together again in the future. With that, she winked at me and rode off on her black motorcycle. So cool. I watched the stunning figure disappear into the distance. Suddenly someone grabbed my shoulder. Wengu's voice was deep. Am I as handsome as her? Help, the handsome Wengu is jealous. But it's quite cute. We walked hand in hand on Sunset Boulevard. The evening glow scattering a tangible tenderness around us. On the way to dinner, we ran into Xingwei and Tang Yi. Tang Yi, taking tiny steps, ran up to Xingwei and handed him a sports drink with a coy voice. Ah Sheng, this is for you. Xingwei didn't stop walking, took the drink, and casually threw it in the trash. His expression towards Tang Yi was far from friendly, and so were his followers. Tang Yi stood there stunned, and seeing me, sneered. If the person giving you water today was, it's Xiong, would you throw her in the trash too? Xingwei stopped in his tracks, staring at me as he replied, no. 12, I smiled and looped my arm through Wengu's. Don't worry, I won't send it. The man my best friend likes, no matter how much he likes me, I wouldn't interfere, especially since, I don't like him at all. I thought I had made myself very clear, but some people just don't get it. Lately, I've been receiving gifts out of the blue. At the library, when I returned from the restroom, there was a huge bouquet of roses on my seat, facing the curious eyes of my classmates around. I wished I could just disappear into a crack in the ground. This ostentatious display couldn't possibly be from Wengu. I decisively packed up my things and left. Xingwei appeared out of nowhere, following alongside me. He asked in a normal speaking tone, "Don't like roses. Should I send something else?" Ugh, so slick. His loud banter in the quiet library drew many resentful glances from fellow students. I ran out of the library in one breath. "This is a library. Can't you consider the setting when you talk or act?" Xingwei smirked, his tone mischievous. "Alright, then I won't send them in the library next time." His response left me laughing in frustration. "Xingwei, what are you doing? You're not trying to pursue me, are you?" "Yeah." Xingwei looked down, gazing at me seriously. "It's funny." When I was completely captivated by him, he never looked at me this way. During the summer, the school clubs organized a social event. I was pulled in last minute to help. A few drunk students from another school insisted on forcing me to drink. Xingwei passed by with his group, with a remark, "Good dogs don't block the way." He helped me out of the situation. Back then, I realized that school bullies weren't as scary as they were made out to be. Quietly following him, it was clear to anyone what I was thinking. But despite the many girls around him, he kept me hanging. Tang Yi's behind-the-scenes manipulations, he knew all about them. He just enjoyed having me fawn over him, thinking about what he once told his friends. I chuckled self-deprecatingly. "Didn't you say you would never like a goody two-shoes in this lifetime?" Xingwei paused, licked his lips, and said with a smile, "I've changed." "Xingwei, do you think the whole world revolves around you? Just because you've decided to turn over a new leaf, everyone else must accept it." I pulled out a wet wipe and began cleaning my hands. "But, you're really dirty." Xingwei, enraged by my words. His pupils dilated, cornered me against the wall. He grabbed my neck, forcefully lifting my chin. His tone was dark. "Let's just be dirty together then." 13. The physical disparity between men and women is substantial. I struggled desperately, but couldn't escape Xingwei's grasp. I cursed in my heart. Sure enough, a thug is a thug, with no respect for others. Why, oh why do the good girls in novels fall for these violent and coercive types? As Xingwei's face drew closer, I closed my eyes in despair. Wengu, if only Wengu were here. Suddenly, Xingwei was knocked to the ground by an external force. Freed from his grip, I collapsed along the wall into familiar arms. Wengu held me worriedly, comforting. Xiang, dear, you're okay." Strangely, I didn't feel aggrieved until Wengu showed up. Like a child who falls and suddenly has an adult to lean on, I couldn't stop my tears. Wengu's punch wasn't light, leaving Xingwei's right cheek bruised. "Tui." Xingwei spat blood onto the ground. He smirked defiantly, glaring fiercely at Wengu, and said, "Brother, how about a match? If I win, you let me have Ruanxiang, and if you lose, I promise I'll stop bothering Ruanxiang." Wengu patted me on the back and paused. "You really have nothing to lose, do you?" I shook my head, not wanting Wengu to get too entangled with Xingwei. Wengu gently wiped away my tears. "Ruanxiang is an independent thinker. It's not up to you to win her over. But I don't mind defeating you in your area of expertise." At school, everyone was curious about things unrelated to studies. The pool hall was packed on the day Wengu and Xingwei competed. The owner couldn't stop smiling, so did I. It was hilarious. Xingwei actually challenging Wengu to a game of pool. Wengu was obsessed with pool in his teens, even making it into the top 80 in snooker. He didn't continue due to his studies, something Xingwei obviously had no clue about. Xingwei was a regular at this pool hall. He handed Wengu a pool cue with an air of certainty. "You go first. I'm afraid if I start, some people might not get a chance to play." Wengu took the cue and calmly replied, "Thanks." Xingwei's buddies started to jeer and hype him up, as expected of brother Xin, always so generous. "I guess this pretty boy will only get to touch the cue today. Ha 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 ha." As the balls were set, Wengu's gaze sharpened instantly and he bent down to take his shot, with a crisp strike. Wengu pocketed 3 balls in one go. The room fell silent. Seeing this, Xingwei's buddies mocked. "This nerd's got some luck." Wengu slightly curled his lips. "Yes, lucky. Shall I continue?" One by one, the balls went in. Each of Wengu's shots resulted in a ball pocketed. No unnecessary flourishes. He was a different person compared to yesterday when he asked me to practice with him, demanding kisses for each ball he pocketed and showing me how to play. My face involuntarily flushed. Xiang, you're blushing because you're nervous." "It's okay." I coughed lightly to cover my embarrassment. Wengu definitely heard it. During a break in his shots, he looked up at me with a sly smile. "Thanks to someone practicing with me yesterday, I really do feel good today." The balls on the table were quickly diminishing. Xingwei moved from his assured slump in the chair to standing up, some classmates whispered among themselves. Don't you think Wengu is actually quite handsome? No need for us to think that, he's always been handsome and smart, how come we never noticed before? He's a good guy, low-key, not very noticeable. In less than 10 minutes, Wengu pocketed the last ball. Modestly, he said, "Thank you for the game." Xingwei's prediction came true. Indeed, someone didn't get a chance to play today, except that someone was himself. As Wengu took my hand to leave, Xingwei blocked our way. Wengu shielded me behind him. "I've defeated you in your own game. Please keep your promise." Xingwei looked past Wengu at me. "What if I said I regret it? Do I still have a chance?" Wengu loosened his shirt cuffs. "To be honest, even if you had won today, I wouldn't have let you take Ruanxiang away, because you don't deserve her. I know you look down on people like me, and likewise, I don't think highly of you. Good at gaming, good at pool, good at picking up girls. What's there to boast about? If you can dominate in these areas. Many people like me who take life seriously don't bother competing with you. You don't have the capability to support Xiang Ruan's future, so don't disturb her present." An old saying goes, a conversation can be worth more than 10 years of study. Since then, Xingwei never came to look for me again. Those idle delinquents at the billiard hall took the old saying to heart, seeing it as an inspiration to go back and hit the books. The results and prize money from the design competition were announced. As expected, Wengu won the grand prize, and I won first prize. Tang Yi was even happier than I was when she saw the news of my award. "Xiang, I knew you could do it. With such a big prize, you've got to treat us all to a good meal." "Right." I pretended to be upset. "Oh, but I'm so sad. Didn't you say I could win the grand prize?" "Right. You also said if I didn't get it, you'd treat me to a meal to cheer me up." "Tang Yi is the best. Where are we going to eat tonight?" Upon hearing she'd have to pay, Tang Yi immediately went silent, but the other girls in the dormitory, often cajoled by her into treating them too, were not fond of her. "How about hot pot? Let's go to Hadaleo." "What time?" 10 o'clock at night. "There's a student discount." "Tang Yi, see how nice we are to you." Tang Yi didn't respond at the time, but on Friday night she suddenly took the initiative. "Let's go, sisters. Let's celebrate for Juan the designer. I'll treat, and then we can go sing karaoke." Before we left, Tang Yi specifically reminded me, Xiang, it's cold tonight. Wear that white jacket, it looks good." I didn't know what Tang Yi was up to again. I asked Wengu to come pick me up early. The hot pot dinner went fairly normal, but at the KTV, Tang Yi seemed like a different person. She kept toasting me, but ended up drinking every glass herself. Later, she said she was cold and borrowed my jacket. The private room got a bit stuffy, so I stepped outside for some air. Intermittent groans echoed from the alley. It was dark, and I could only make out a figure being mobbed. I played a police siren sound from my phone. The thugs scattered in panic. A disheveled figure crawled out of the alley. And it was actually Xingwei. Seeing me, he instinctively tried to hide his bruises and mud, but couldn't cover them up. He gave an awkward, pained smile that looked more like a cry. "Did you play that alarm for me?" I nodded. "Thanks. How about I treat you to a meal?" Wengu came running towards me from the light. I shook my head. "No need." I ran towards Wengu. "Wait a minute." I turned back to see Xingwei, who barely stood up leaning against the wall. He gave me an ugly smile. "Xiang Ruan. I'm sorry." A wayward youth finally understands love, but it was still too late. He opened his mouth as if to say something more, but finally just hurriedly added, "Never mind, go to Wengu. He's a good guy, better than me." Wengu took off his coat and draped it over me. "Why did you go out without a jacket? Are you frozen?" I slipped my hands into the pockets of Wengu's coat. "Aren't you curious about what just happened?" Wengu bowed his head and nuzzled my nose. I saw it. Logic tells me if I were in that situation, I'd do the same, but I'm still curious, jealous, and need a kiss from Miss Ruan to feel better. Tang Yi went insane. She wandered around the campus inadequately dressed, always with a foolish smile, greeting everyone with, "I'm Xiang Ruan, hee. I'm Xiang Ruan." I heard that after Wengu and I left that day, a dozen people wearing black hoods stormed into our KTV room. Tang Yi, who had fallen asleep under my coat to sober up, was kidnapped. I called the police immediately, but no one could be found. 2 days later, Tang Yi was thrown out of a van, tortured beyond recognition. Tang Yi went insane upon waking up in the hospital. Even more absurdly, the investigation revealed that the employer behind the kidnapping was Tang Yi herself. But since Tang Yi had gone mad, nothing further could be gleaned, and the case was ultimately left unresolved, because Tang Yi kept shouting, "I am Ruanxiang." Rumors circulated that Tang Yi was jealous of me and had sought to ruin me, only to have her own scheme backfire. Only I knew that it wasn't just a rumor, but the backlash of a fortune-switching attempt, the fortune-switching never succeeded, everything Tang Yi intended for me boomeranged back onto her. She had many chances to stop, but she chose to persist down this dark path. Misdeeds often destroy the perpetrator. Wengu has always been trustworthy, after our marriage. He indeed treated me better and better, and it was thrilling, but he had one quirk: he could only sleep well if he was holding me. On his birthday, I got out of bed early to make him a bowl of noodles. Before the water even boiled, I heard Wengu scream my name in agony, Wan Xiang. He ran to me, pantsless, eyes red and veins bulging. He lunged forward and hugged me tightly, his tone frantic, then relieved. I was scared to death, scared to death. I stroked his head. What's wrong, Wengu? Still frightened, nestled into my neck. Wife, I just had a nightmare. I dreamt that someone killed you with a green notebook. In the dream, I was so weak, I did nothing. Only after you died did I start looking for ways to bring you back. I knelt down the 3,000 steps, praying for your return. As Wengu spoke, tears fell. Wife, I'm sorry I couldn't save you right from the start in the dream. I kissed Wengu's lips. Fool. You've already saved me from fire and water.